What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Thursday night live stream. Sorry, I'm a little late, but it's actually, I think I'm actually okay. 9:07 is like the new 9:07 is the new 9 o'clock. That's what we always say. What is up, guys? Good to see everybody. Hit that like button on the way in. We've got some fun bottles to taste tonight, and we might get into some blind pours. I'm not sure just yet. We'll just kind of play that by ear. If we do blind pours, it's not going to be some crazy flight. It would just be individual samples that people have sent. Adam says he's late because he's setting up the Santa hats. Actually taking the Santa hats off so I can get to the whiskey. So I'm going to start as I always do. I don't know which pick this is. Mission Trails Wine and Spirits. I actually think this is from Wilmo. So I think this is the one he gifted me at a barrel pick. So thanks, man. We'll start off with the little Eagle Rare store pick, get the palate going. As usual, just ate some tacos, among other things. So we're ready to go. Let's see. Cam, can you see the Cam? He is drinking Drams. That's funny. Cheers, guys. Let me know what you're sipping on tonight. It's actually not my first whiskey of the day. I was at my second home a couple hours ago up at River Roots. So I just got back about an hour ago, picking up some new bottles. And so we are going to be doing a giveaway for these bottles this evening. Just to let you guys know. Same thing as usual. Every $5 super chat gets you an entry into the giveaway. Whether you do super chats or if you want to bypass the 30% blanket YouTube cut that they take, which, does suck as a creator on YouTube. You can always PayPal or Venmo me. That information's in the description of the video. Just, don't write the words giveaway in there. Write something else. Just like a super chat, I'll read it out on the screen or read it out loud. Can't put it on the screen at that point, but, again, it's helps support the channel a little bit more. But either way, it's totally fine. Every $5 gets you in. And I'll keep track throughout the live stream. Let's see. I'm going to put the banner up right now. Opus One. Boom. All right. So the two bottles that are going to be in tonight's giveaway will be the Opus One Kota. So you guys have already seen Opus One on the channel, which is decorated because it was back on the shelf. Opus One and Opus One Kota are not the same whiskeys exactly, but they are both the same base whiskey. They just come from different finishing barrels, different double oaked finishing barrels. We can talk more about it when we get into it, but it's the same exact stuff as Opus One. Stats wise on paper, it's just a little different proof. It's like one proof point different. Between the two, and then what we did with the labels is the turkeys are flipped. You can see on the labels, one's called Kota, one is called Opus One. That's because Opus One sold out so friggin' fast, and there was such high demand that we went back and picked another one of these. So this is like kind of part two, which is why we called it Kota. So I picked that up today, and then I picked up this right here, which is the final rye of 2024, which, come on now, camera. You got this. You got this. We can do this together. There we go. Year of the Rye. So we called 2024 the Year of the Rye. This is an almost 13-year MGP rye at about 110 proof with some pretty cool artwork. This bottle came out just super, super clean. So that's also going to be in tonight's giveaway. So one winner for this, one winner for this, and each winner is also going to get a 1-ounce sample of this upcoming short barrel, which we'll talk about, this upcoming double oaked Boo Rye short barrel, as well as this Elijah Craig toasted barrel proof single barrel pick. So these are brand new on the market. We're going to taste and review this tonight, kind of give some first impressions. So there'll be two winners plus a sample of each of those. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight as far as the giveaway goes. Opus One Kota. This is basically like we're going to run a randomizer for a lot of people in the Patreon who already signed up for this, and then we're only going to drop maybe like 20 or so bottles in the Patreon afterwards. It's a unique way we're doing it to try to make sure that people get this who didn't get the original Opus. if you want to learn more about it and you're not in the Patreon, you can join the Patreon and we can hear us talk about it. But it's going to be kind of hard to get this bottle. That's the point of me saying this. And then Year of the Rye is going to drop early December. Okay. So that said, Jason, get you in here for 2 entries. Thanks, man. Cheers. Slad says, oh, yeah, I owe Slad royalties for Opus One Kota. Kota was his name. That was his idea to call it that. Little music reference there. So, Axel, thank you for the super chat. I'll get you in here for 2 as well. Appreciate it, guys. All right, so let me catch up now in the chat here. Not very much to catch up on. I know I put the thumbnail up really late, so we might have a slightly less attended live stream for a little while till people jump in. Big One says, Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel Proof. Looking forward to this one. Me too. Scott, cheers. The short barrel just looks classy. I agree, man. The new labels for these Burais. So our barrel pick is the very first one of these that's going to get released late January. These labels just look awesome. So clean. Sean, fun? What exactly makes you think this is going to be fun? Dang, Sean. Going in on me a little bit early here, huh? Alec, cheers. New Riff Balboa tonight. Nice. Keegan, good to see you, Bobby. I'm going to keep scrolling here. Good to see everybody. Let's see. Guys drinking the Drums and Drams Driftless Rye pick. I'm glad you like that one, man. I went back to that last night. That's a heavy, heavy whiskey. Like, not just the bottle, which is heavy, but the profile is so freaking thick and rich. And also like that bitter sweetness that it has to it. It's so different, so unique, I feel like. Yeah. Are we sure Cam is not stuck in a snowdrift off I-71? Yeah, it probably seemed like it. Jason, fresh crack in the hard truth. Let me know what you think of it, man. All right, I'm going to keep scrolling down. Who said Old Louisville in here? Guys, we basically just obliterated. Ryan Alves from Bourbon Outfitter posted in his Instagram story that he had a 35-bottle short barrel of Old Louisville. 10-year MGP, 36% rye, 116 proof, something like that. Great stat. Incredible stats. 35-bottle short barrel is ridiculous. Posted it in his Instagram story. I screenshotted it and put it in the Discord, and we sold it out. So, sorry to anybody that wanted that bottle. Drums and Drams people took, I think, at least 30 out of the 35 bottles. It was some absurd number. Tony Bag of Donuts, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. I'm just going to put you in as Tony Bag. In for 4. I'd love to win one of those, but what's really going down is I'm tasting the Driftless Short Barrel for the first time. Tony, I've just realized in the Patreon, I forgot to do the micro batches Zoom call for that. Like, I was in the shower last night going, oh my God, I totally forgot. Because after I shipped them out, it just went away and totally out of my head. So guys, I'm totally going to make that happen. I'm so sorry that I forgot. It might have to be this coming Sunday, actually. Well, I have a concert, so we'll have to figure this out. Thanks, Tony, for the super chat. What'd you say? First time we held out till you were alive again. Okay. Happy Turkey Day, everybody. Thanks, man. All right, Daniel Nichols. Good to see you, man. In for 2, sipping on some Opus One. What do you think of it, man? Justin, don't worry, I'm here. We were so worried, Justin. Tom, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. In for 5, says, just killed a bottle of Heaven's Door 10. Cheers towards the Opus when it shows up. Heaven's Door 10 was really good. Underrated. People didn't, in my opinion, didn't give that bottle its due. Little expensive for what it was, I think, just as far as proof and profile. But I thought it was delicious whiskey. Okay. I got to get my phone at the ready because I'm sure some Venmos and things are going to be coming in here. Okay. Pink Dan says he was in the shower when it dawned on him about the micro hangout. I hate you so much, bro. All right, let's get into some stuff here now. We're going to start. We're going to just get right into this. Right into this Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel Proof. And I've got to make sure that I remember to acknowledge people tonight because sometimes I can forget if people send samples. I usually am pretty good about it. But I just want to make sure that I acknowledge people who sent these things or hooked it up. So anyways, I want to say thanks to James for this Elijah Craig. This is from Virginia. So if you guys don't know, Virginia is a control state. It's not state minimum pricing. I believe it's state mandated pricing, which is just like Ohio. And again, similar to Ohio, they do their own state barrel picks, and they go to those ABC stores. So this is selected for Virginia ABC. It's 121.3 proof, which is 60.65% ABV, so just over that 120 mark. It's 9 years old. I've seen these going, I think I've seen these ranging from 8 to 11 maybe on secondary. Certainly 10 years old I've seen. I don't know if I've seen an 11. Can't remember. So we're basically talking about Elijah Craig barrel proof, put into a toasted barrel, about 120 proof, 9 years old. No idea how long this spent in the finishing barrel, and I'm not sure what would be customary for this product. So I'm sure we'll learn more about that in the coming days. But, for now, not sure. All right, so I got Tom. Let me grab Dan real quick here. Also, guys, if there's ever, for some reason, my connection and just some things on the tech side have been a little bit weird for me recently. So if there's anything that happens, just let me know. First off, if you lose sound or video or whatever the case may be. I've just been troubleshooting things and not quite able to figure it all out just yet. Dan says, cheers to Flash spending spree on... Yeah, we all spent too much money today, man. And Slad says, let's see, get you in for two. Says, I was pretty skeptical about a Whiskey Tuber LE, but great job. All cam, no scam. Thanks, man. Yeah, this idea of doing an LE I know is so overdone just across the board from distilleries. But I'm like, you know what? Whiskey tubers don't do it, and I think there's actually a good way to do that, where you just limit it to 1 or 2 per year, try to keep them 6 months apart, and the whiskey has to be at a certain level. Don't just do an LE to do an LE. So maybe there's not even going to be one in 2025. You know what I mean? And I'd rather it be that way than to hype things for no reason. All right, so on to this. Ooh. Wow. On to this Elijah Craig. Steven says taco and Eagle Rare. That's the fun that I need the most. Thanks, man. In for two. All right. So on the nose, right away, you can tell there is extra oak influence on this. You can tell it's either, double oaked or toasted barrel. It jumps out at you with that kind of, I would call this like a little bit of a bittersweet char, coffee, molasses kind of profile, but it has that intensity and that spice of the second barrel. And it's always different what you get from these toasted or double oak finishes, right? Like sometimes you can get super sweet profiles, like Woodford I find to be very, very sweet. It's probably not as sweet though as 1910. I think 1910 is probably the sweetest double oak product on the market, at least in my opinion. Maybe some of the Jack double barreled stuff would get pretty close as well. The 100 proof special release or the 107 distillery edition, those are very sweet as well. And I do prefer those over 1910, but that's how it should be given the price points on those. But you just never know what you're going to get from toasted or from double oaked. It could be savory, it could be super sweet, it could be young and woody and kind of nasty. It's all over the place. This one for me, I got to tell you, it really reminds me of a cross between a Michter's toasted product and a Sagamore double oaked rye. And I don't love those. They're very hit or miss for me, depending on the barrel, depending on the release, especially of Michter's. The Sagamore double oaked rye has never really been my thing. It's always been too rubbery, which is a criticism I have of some of these. And this has a teeny bit of that rubber note. However, everything underneath that rubber note, I really like. I'm starting to become a little bit more of a fan of double oaked and toasted stuff. Just a little toe dipping, And so I think this on the nose does smell pretty darn good. Yeah, and I can also, well, actually, before I say that, let me just call this out, which I think is interesting. There's not a hint of nuttiness on this. Like zero nuttiness. You would never know this is Elijah Craig. Not at all. The nuttiness has been replaced just by, that kind of bittersweet thing. There's also one thing I would not have expected on this, because it's more of almost like a rye thing in many ways, is like a menthol, like that cooling sensation in your nose. This really does have like a menthol tingle to it. Yeah, interesting. A little mintiness. Yeah, weird. All right, let's go to the palate. Damn. That's really good. That is very, very good. Wow. It has a sparkly, effervescent sensation on the palate. Totally not what I expected. That is wild, because it's very spicy. It's super prickly and tingly on your tongue, but this amount of effervescence coming off a double oaked or a toasted bourbon doesn't make sense. And like in a good way, a lot of times when you toast something or you double oak it, it can actually get a little flat in the mid palate because it's so overdone with oak. This has sparkle and life to it on the palate, even though the profile's super dark. Weird. And it's consistent. Second sip. It's just a huge whiskey for 120 proof. Wow. This is going to be a hit. A little cedar in there. Yeah, definite. Like, there's like some tobacco notes and cedar in there for sure. These are going to be to me better options than Elijah Craig private barrels, because a lot of the private barrels aren't very good. 1 out of like 50 private barrels that I've tasted have been decent of Elijah Craig, right? It's a very low hit rate for those, and it doesn't matter what age they are. I've had 11s that are not good, and I've had 8s that are better. These toasteds, if they give you some options as far as like how long it was in the toasted barrel, you're going to be able to get a fantastic whiskey at a lower age, and I think with less risk. And what I mean is, I think when you put these in these toasted barrels, the profiles are probably going to be more similar and better and elevated. So across the board, you're going to have less misses than you do with just the straight up private barrel picks. So I would encourage anybody, if you guys see these in your market and you like toasted, you like double oaked, you don't mind, this is heavy on the oak, and even for me, it's a little heavy, but this is a total wintertime type pour. It's a massive whiskey at only 120 proof. Like it drinks like 130 plus. I actually really like this. Even though the one rubbery note in there, like, I'll get over it. In this case, I'll get over it. Pure Mustard, this is a 9-year pick. Wow, I'm shocked at this. I'm really shocked at this profile. And you know what? This is actually kind of an interesting segue to the short barrel. So we can put these side by side, and I'll talk a little bit more about this short barrel. And again, like, whoever wins the giveaways tonight are going to get samples of both of these. Which, let's see how this comparison goes. I wonder if James is here. James, who sent this bottle, because I'd love to know if James actually picked one of these up for himself, and if so, what he thought. All right, Jason P., thank you for the super chat. I'm going to be better about super chats tonight. I'm already pretty much caught up in here, and I'm going to already start on the PayPals and Venmos. Just get it going early. Thank you, Jason. Says, missed the River Roots Barrel Company shorty, but made the Old Louis. Yeah, I'm excited for the Old Louisville. Thank you for the super chat, man. I got you in for 4. And Nick Blevins with the PayPal, a $50 super chat. Thank you, bro. That's 10 entries, and that's very generous. Says, can't stay long. Y'all have fun tonight. Take it easy on the Kim Crawford. I'm a shameless drinker. When I want like a crisp white wine, I drink pond water. I drink Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc, and I don't care who judges me. And so that's why he said that. Thanks, Nick. Oh, God. Okay. Let's keep it going. Toshi, what's up, man? I see Toshi's name popping up in chat now. Cameron, nice name, Cameron. Will you try the 2024 Bomb Burgers? I will if I get a sample of it. I actually walked in a store 2 days ago, and Shanks was just sitting there, which is, in Ohio is not a common thing. I was like, am I going to buy this Shanks? I mean, it's at SRP. I passed on it. They didn't have Bomb Burgers. Instead, I bought this Knob Creek 18 Batch 3, which we're going to get into tonight. Matt Porter loved this Batch 3, so that's why I picked it up. Casket salesman, I think these are going for $100. Listen, I would have to put it next to Michter's stuff, but in my opinion, if you're a fan of Michter's Toasted Rye, you will be a fan of the Elijah Craig Toasted Bourbon. I know it's bourbon to rye, but like, let's face it, Michter's ryes are Kentucky rye style. They're not big mint bombs or anything like that. So I actually think with how much mint this had, weirdly enough, and menthol and also just that sparkly effervescence on the palate, I think this compares somewhat closely to the Michter's Toasted Rye. I don't have one of those with me to taste, except for a 2017 back here on this shelf there. But the 2017 is not a good comparison because that's a completely different whiskey than what they're making nowadays. Are we freezing? Is the live stream freezing? Cam, what's up, man? Do you prefer toasted bourbons over toasted ryes? I don't like to make a generalization on that. I think the prevailing theory that everybody has, or a prevailing opinion that toasted ryes are better than toasted bourbons, totally makes sense to me because the rye spice is going to hold up to the second barrel. But at the same time, like, it's more of a case-by-case basis, I think, for me. Because I didn't really expect to like this Elijah Craig. And here we are. Did you fix your microphone cable problems? The cable thing, so the USB-C cable that goes between my hub and my computer, I have a whole second hub with its own, because it has a power supply and everything. But I can't find the other backup USB-C cable for it. And I don't know if there's... This can sound dumb. I don't know if there are different kinds of cables, like USB-C speed-wise. So I need to like look at what that kind of cable is, and if there's any specific aspect of it that I need to look out for when I buy another one, because I think it's that cable, but I wasn't able to replace it. And I think the microphone problem is just coming from the one kind of universal cable that I'm using. Does the ECTBP? Oh, try to say that 3 times fast. ECTBP. Yeah, it's 9 years old. They are age stated in the corner like Private Barrel picks. God, I hope all of you out there right now are sitting at home on your couch trying to say that out loud. ECTBP. Okay. Is this a new thing? These are new things, yes. Joe says we have a soft spot at our house for a Pine Ridge White Blend they sell at Costco. It's a Chenin Blanc Viognier blend. Neither of those is great on its own, but the Pine Ridge is crushable. You know, sometimes you just need it. Like the Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc to me is like drinking like Mick Ultra or something. You know, that's the way I see it. Okay, so let's get into a comparison now. Maybe this will help bring out some of the attributes of the toasted Elijah Craig a little bit more. So what I'm comparing it to is this short barrel. This is a double oaked, so not toasted, but it's double oaked Boo Rye. It's a blend of 5 to 12 year bourbon and rye. Looks like some Green River in there, some low rye MGP bourbon, and 95.5 MGP rye. This was finished in a number 5 char Kelvin barrel, that's a lot of char. Okay. And so it's kind of crazy that we ended up picking this because this is, again, goes against many of my stylistic preferences for something like this. And then you got the pick sticker with the logo on the back. 7-month finish for this one. So this is going to be coming in January, but because it's a double oak that I actually liked, and I thought that was kind of interesting, we're going to put it next to this Elijah Craig. Calvin, yeah, it does get power through that cable, but it's not enough power when I'm live streaming. So I also have it plugged in on the other side to just the power supply as well. So it's getting power from both sides. I don't know if it ends up prioritizing just the higher power side and not pulling from the other. I'm not sure. But that's good to know that they do differ. I figured that was probably the case. Yeah, so when you put these side by side, you can actually start to smell more of that savoriness in the Elijah Craig. So maybe these are, like, if possible, try before you buy, because I'm sure some of them are going to be more heavily finished than the others. But if you tend to like most toasted and double oaked things, then I wouldn't worry so much about it. But if you're like me, then it's probably a try before you buy, just based right now on the nose, because the short barrel, and the reason we picked it is because it's very dark, but it doesn't have those savory notes. It's just a maple chocolate donut is what it smells like. Yeah, it's very woody, but it's not savory and burnt and a little rubbery. And what's interesting is, like, you can start to get a little bit of the citrus peeking through from the rye in the blend. However, as far as drinking experience goes, I like this short barrel, but it's pretty crushable. Like, it is definitely tamed down by that Char 5 finishing barrel. Whereas this Elijah Craig, it's just like, it just rips. It's very intense. And I know people are sick of me talking about soda notes and cola notes in whiskey. My mind always goes there. Different styles of that stuff. But look, this toasted has a lot of, like, those root beer kind of notes that you can get on finished products. So those spicy sarsaparilla root beer type notes. Kenton Klein, do you like the regular EC toasted? I do, yeah. The earlier ones, like when it first came out, I think in 2020, I don't think I was the biggest fan back then. I picked up a bottle within the last 3 or 4 months, I want to say. Tasted it up against the toasted rye as well. And I really like the toasted bourbon where it is now. I think there has been batch variants, and that with toasted products makes a lot of sense, because those barrels can be very different, finishing times and everything else. I think what I would be most curious about from Elijah Craig now would be like a toasted rye. Like, let's see how that comes out, because if this toasted bourbon could potentially give, if it could potentially give Michter's toasted rye a run for its money, then an Elijah Craig toasted rye, I think, would be even above that. I don't like the low-proof Elijah Craig toasted rye. I just think it's weird. It's too much water added. It's very flat, even though it's a rye whiskey. The bourbon has more pizzazz to it. But I think if you crank that up to barrel proof and you get a barrel proof toasted rye from Elijah Craig, I think that would be an ultimate type bottle. Tony, I know what you're talking about here from Seal Boxes. $250 for a 6-year New Loose Shorty at Hazmat, a good price. No, it's not a good price. I love Sealbox, and I have one of those. I have a 5-year, 10-month Shorty that I paid $250 for. It was totally worth it, but it was an epic gamble to buy the bottle. I then spent $250 on a 9-year MGP that was picked by a group that I won't name any names, and that bottle was not good, like, to me at least. Other people really liked it, but it was an MGP short barrel, and it didn't live up to whatever the Kentucky 5-year, 10-month was. So to me, like, these $250 short barrels, I know we're pricing short barrels because of the low yield and everything else. $250 is too much for that age, and it's the nature of the, like, it sucks because they have to make their money back on the barrels, and I don't know if that price is coming from Nulu or coming from Sealbox or a combination of the two, but I'm no longer going to blindly buy $250 short barrels that are not double-digit aged, Yeah, no, Joe, I was talking about a barrel-proof toasted rye. So I was talking about, I don't like the low-proofer one, but if they cranked it up to barrel-proof, I think it could be really good. All right, let's taste this Elijah Craig one more time. You got to like your oak. You got to like your toasted. But I'm going to be curious to put this next to some other things, I think. And then the short barrel, which the short barrel is now developing kind of like this very caramelized orange note to it, along with those maples and chocolates. Very maple heavy, I would say. Yeah. So I think I do recommend, but still try before you buy on the toasted rye. All right, let's get some water going. We have 194 in here tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out. It's crazy. Again, like seeing the numbers go up like that, it's very cool. Please do hit that like button. Got a little giveaway going this evening for the brand new Opus One Kota limited release barrel pick for drums and drams. And then this year, the rye. We're going to taste these here in a second. But I think what I want to taste now, I've got some samples in front of me. And one that I forgot to taste on last week's stream, speaking of short barrel, is the Short Barrel Bee's Knees. Now, this is Bee's Knees 3. I can't remember. I know I've tasted this once, but I think maybe it was on a Patreon stream. But someone last week asked me to taste it. So maybe that person is here this week. May as well give it a little go here. And I've got some other, actually, short barrel samples. Give me just a second. Let me see if they're on the table. All right, so I've got the After Swarm Honey Rye, and I've got the Sap Squatch, which is a maple finish. By the way, again, I knew I was going to forget this. I want to say thank you to Josh C., who's a local down in Atlanta, for grabbing this bottle. He helped actually bottle our barrel pick at Short Barrel. He got one of these for himself, which is cool that they were able to, give the volunteers and stuff bottles of the things that they were helping with. So he got one. He actually picked one up for me, and he shipped it up or hand delivered it. So thank you, Josh, for doing that. That's the only reason I'm able to grab this bottle 2 months before it releases. So let's get these other ones poured out because they are finished, and finished whiskeys tend to need some time in the glass to, open up a little bit. It'll be interesting to compare the After Swarm to the Bee's Knees. Oh, here we go. Eric says, where's the ECBP rye non-toasted? That's a good point. That's a very good point. What's up, Brian? Amy, good to see you, Amy. Amy, I was thinking about you yesterday. I was just thinking, like, I don't know if oh, God. Almost dripped my maple finish into my honey finish. Can't have that. I was thinking, Amy, maybe I was just incorrect. I'm like, has Amy been in streams recently? I hope she's okay. I was thinking about sending you an email. It's hard to keep track anymore of things going on right now. Life is moving too fast, which is great. Spilling like Dan already. Sean, big money, no whammies. Thank you, Sean. I got you for 2. Are you having fun yet, Sean? That's the real question. Tyler, sorry I missed your super chat back here. Tyler Ake in for 3. Keep me on my toes with 3. I'm too many pours deep to say ECTBP successfully. We got to get everybody saying that. ECTBP. All right. Well, let's start with this Bee's Knees 3, 115.4. On the nose, very fresh and lively. It's like melon and grapefruit notes. Yeah. And I almost said this like I didn't expect it. I wasn't thinking. I almost said, oh, it's got a lot of honey, actually. Of course it has honey. It's honey finished. But the honey notes in here are more of like a Buffalo Trace natural whiskey honey as opposed to a honey barrel finished honey. So I kind of like that about it. Oh, the palate hits harder than you would think. Whoa. It's like honey. It's like warm honey on like toasted bread or something. As I get into the finish, I'm starting to pick up more of those kind of slightly tropical, citrusy, grapefruit, melony kind of notes that I was getting on the nose. It's actually crazy how much the nose has those fruits. And yet the palate is this toasty honey thing all up front. Very sweet mid palate. Big honey notes. Dessert whiskey style. And then in the finish, it starts to open back up. So a little disconnected, like nose to palate, I would say. But not in a way where you don't want to drink it. It's just got a lot of variety, which is interesting. I don't hate a disconnect from nose to palate if they're all good things. You know, sometimes you smell something and it smells great, and then there's just a wacky off note on the palate. That would be negative for me. But if it's a delicious nose and a delicious palate, and there's a little disconnect, you win some, you lose some. You know, it's still good whiskey. So I do like this a lot for a honey finish. Not big into the honey finish thing anymore. I definitely went through a phase. But we're going to go into the after swarm now for a direct side-by-side comparison. Josh Miller, thank you, man, for the super chat. Got you in for one. Air, I'll put this on the screen here. All right, Amy, I'm glad you're good. Josh is sipping on the new Evernorth pick. What do you think of it, man? I think that Evernorth pick took on a lot more of the turkey barrel than I initially thought, in a good way. Sean, I always have fun when I'm giving you shit. Love you, but thanks, man. I always love when you give me shit. It keeps things fun. Mr. Zitro, the Bee's Knees 3 finished in Florida Honey Barrel says an orange blossom. That's a great call. That's like what I'm talking about, that fresh, lively thing. Orange blossom. Yeah. Wow, I would have never... Almost hibiscus-y. It's nice. It's very fragrant. It's floral, but not in a negative way. It's in a very soft, approachable way. I like it. And I would never think of orange blossom when I'm giving notes. So that's a good kind of, you know, put it in the database for the future. Nick, got you in here for 2, man. Thank you. Justin, this is Bee's Knees 3 sample. It is yours, yeah. So Tennessee. Okay. So let's go now to the after swarm. Oh, yeah, I did forget that last week. Thank you for the reminder. I just got a text message from a buddy about this. I forgot to taste the Crittenden's Mothman last week. We'll do that on stream here. All right, after swarm. You can totally smell the difference between the two. The rye is crazy obvious on the after swarm. And see, this is a case where I know everybody likes finished ryes better than finished bourbons most of the time, but on the nose, I tend to prefer the regular Bee's Knees over the after swarm on the nose, just because it's so integrated and so pleasant with those very fresh notes. And the rye on the after swarm, it's cutting through and it's making itself known, but not to any real benefit, if that makes sense. Now, I assume on the palate this is going to be awesome and spicy, so let's see. Yeah, and it's like, it drinks freaking awesome. It's prickly. You can sense the rye spice. There's a distinct pepper note in here. And as the honey is really starting to kind of like be mouth-watering and make itself obvious on the palate, actually it's getting more and more intense. The pepperiness of the rye matches it the whole way, and it keeps it tempered. So I do like the drinking experience there. Yeah, and I think I like that better than the bourbon. So it's funny. It's there are trade-offs, I think, in both directions for the bourbons and ryes finished here in the honey. I wonder what happens, though, if you blend them. All right, I'm going to have to get a fresh glass for some other things. Got a few, actually, hanging out already. Oh. Tough times over here. Let's see. Morgan, off topic. Have you tried any of the Penelope Estate? No, I haven't tried any yet. I thought the single barrel was pretty good. MGP done well. Haven't tried any of them. I'm hearing good things. I can be really particular. I mean, I can be particular kind of across the board, to be honest. But that's a negative trait of mine sometimes. But I can be very particular about MGP just because there's so much out there. And I've not been terribly impressed by a lot of Penelope stuff. But after the MGP acquisition, I'm interested to see if the quality, from my perspective at least, has gone up. I know some people have been diehard Penelope fans for a long time. I used to buy all the barrel strengths. And then it all kind of started to run together, and it never felt like they were developing the portfolio very much. And then the acquisition happened, and now it's like, you know, there are some more premium products coming out. Randall got you in for 4, man. Gobble, gobble, gobble. ECTBP. Cheers, man. Matt, good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. In for 1. Also sipping on the Evernorth pick. Light caramel and floral notes. And then a little Regiment 93 call out. Nice. Good old 93. My drum teacher marked Cadets 93. So. All right. Let's do the Bee's Knees half and half blend. The bourbon actually kind of took over. Throw a little more rye in there. Yeah, the bourbon and the extra sweetness and kind of the flatter palate was the prominent feature there. It's tough balance. So maybe a Burai version should be what they do next. Get the best of both worlds. Either way, I like them both. Honey finish, not totally for me, but neither of them are at a point where I think they're over finished, which is good, and that would probably be the main complaint for something like that. So now we've got the sap squatch maple finish to kind of round things out on Short Barrel. This has turned into a finished whiskey tasting here for a little while. Then we're going to get into the Knob Creeks and the other things on the table. But we'll do the sap squatch and then the Mothman, which has a bunch of stuff going on. Tony Bag of Donuts. Cam, this Driftless Glen isn't giving me the funky cheese that it did on pick day. Same here, dude. After they bottled that pick, all of those funky notes turned to sweet notes. And it turned to like this cheesecake, caramel macchiato, very, very decadent dessert type profile. So I actually like the way it turned out, but part of me wishes it would have stayed with some of those funky notes that we had when we picked it. But that just goes to show you how crazy things can change in the bottling process. Okay, nose on the sap squatch maple, which I don't know if this is bourbon or rye. I think it's probably bourbon. I know it's maple finish, but it's really nicely balanced. This is more of like brown sugar notes than it is distinctly maple. Very bourbon forward as opposed to being finish forward. At least right now on the nose. It could change on the palate. What's up, Josh? Good to see you, man. Thanks for hooking me up with these samples and the bottle. That's a slow burn. That's probably my favorite. I'm also a little more partial to maple finishes. It's a little more flat and kind of relaxed on the palate, Very, very slow ramp up and slow, fall off there in the finish. Great sweetness, and I think it's just like a perfect amount of maple finish on this. It's not overdone. So to me right now, what this is showing with this whole finished short barrel tasting is that they really know how to finish stuff, and they know how to not let it cook too long. I like that a lot. That's my favorite, 100%. I'm going to pour that back. That's just breakfast. It just tastes like breakfast. Give me one sec, guys. Sarah just got home. I don't know. It's probably too big, though. But I don't know. Okay. Let's get back to it. One more finished whiskey to taste this evening, I think. I mean, I guess Opus One Kota is technically finished, but it's just a sort of a double oaking. All right. So you guys know I am now a converted Crittenden's fanboy through and through. Matt Crittenden, awesome dude. All the whiskey he's making is incredible. He does all this cool experimental stuff like this Mothman and so many different finishes. And it's not just gimmicky finishes. It's like really high quality finishes. Everybody that's had like the Crittenden's Double Oaked, most people say it's one of their favorite Double Oaks on the market. And I would agree. I think that Double Oak's amazing. But it's not just the finished stuff he does. All of his like just straight up single barrel bourbons and ryes, ridiculous. It's just that he's not really had distribution before, so I'm excited to get his stuff to Bourbon Outfitter, and I think probably be the first time that Crittenden's is distributed for our barrel picks, and I think they're going to throw some other products on the website as well on the same pallet that goes to DC. So this Mothman is 111.7 proof. It's 5 years old. So this is bourbon finished in Moscatel, which is one of my favorite finishes. Moscatel, Naranja, so VDN, Vino de Naranja. Moscatel, VDN, port, and sweet vermouth wine casks. Ryan says, excited for the... And by the way, all of those things in here, that's a lot of stuff. It sounds crazy. So it could just be not for me, or it could be totally right up my alley. I'm not going to hold it against anybody, though. Is it way too big?
Put it on over my sweatshirt.
Oh. Well, I'm chunky right now, so I
had to...
Sarah, the second best palate in the house is now in the room.
I know. Get something in my size.
Sorry, we got...
What, second best?
Second best.
No.
Second best.
No.
We got these merch samples, guys. Adam McIntyre sent a bunch of stuff over. So I got this, and I've got all sorts of stuff. So just like some plain tees, which is cool. And we're working on some hoodies as well. So I got like the big chunky logo on the hoodie, just trying that out. This is a hoodie with same little circle logo, but in green. So just like messing around with stuff. The hats, some coasters. So we're finally starting to do some merch. We're talking to a glass maker and everything. So that's kind of all in process. So Drums and Drams is finally taking steps forward, which is cool. Very excited. Okay, let's get back to this. Ryan Wan says, excited for the Crittenden picks. I'm sipping Blue Bolt 249, sourced from Crittenden. Huh. I don't know anything about that. And for two, I gotcha. Interesting. So Crittenden is selling barrels to other people? Wow, this has a lot going on the nose. It's hard to even know where to begin. And interestingly, it has like a smoky quality to it. There's like and it's very much in the background, so I'm cool with it. Sometimes if you get a smokiness like this, which is more of a barbecue-y mesquite kind of smoke, if it's too prevalent, then I'm not a fan. It's just a tinge in the background of that. But up front, it's just a total fruit cocktail explosion. I think the port is what is maybe the most strong on the nose for me. But I'm also literally smelling like, you just think of a fruit cup or a fruit cocktail or fruit salad. Think of that. Anything in there is fair game on the nose here. Oh, wow. It drinks like a scotch almost. It kind of glides over the palate. It's soft. You would never know. You would never know that's 110 proof or 111 proof. Yeah. It's almost a little scotchy in some ways because it's so round. And it coasts. Almost feels like there's a little tequila kind of thing in there too. It's all over the place. That's crazy. And now when I come back to the nose, all I'm picking up is chocolate, which is strange. I think it's because now my palate's acclimated to all the finishes and all the fruit. Wow. All right. It is such a dessert type pour. After a meal, it's very decadent. Damn. I'm telling you, Matt is a mad scientist putting this stuff together. So I was just looking for a little more info if there's anything on the back. We hope you enjoy this unique blend of Mississippi bourbon finished in European wine casks. The barrels used include Moscatel, Naranja, port, sweet vermouth. Featured predominantly is the Moscatel. Wow. With the others playing in harmony to round out this delicious dram. Huh. Yeah, it wouldn't be for everybody, but there's an audience of people that are going to absolutely love this. And as far as finished whiskey goes, you don't really get this much diversity of flavor out of a finished whiskey, I would say, from probably any other producer. Wow. It's not the most exciting drinking experience as far as spice goes, but I don't think that's why you're drinking this. It's not for you to have this crazy ramp up of spice on the palate. It's so that you can taste all these fruit notes. All right. It's funny now to go back to the Short Barrel and the Elijah Craig Toasted after all of those. Yeah. All right. We're going to keep it moving. See what we can get into here next. The first thing we got to get into is going to be some more super chats. Steven, thank you, man. Now all we need are those trust token glass covers. Any idea what material they'd be made out of? I really don't know. I don't know if they would be like the poker chip style, because with the glass covers, the one thing I'm considering is I like to use these glasses, but the top is a little bit wider than a Glen. And so you don't want something that has like a divot cut around to fit on a Glen, because then it's not going to fit these glasses. So you want something that's just flat. So the poker chip thing can kind of work for that, or some other, flat design. There we go. MBDA, says Brett. I can't say that on the air right now, Brett, because I don't want someone to steal that idea. I just want to keep that hush-hush before we make a t-shirt with that on it. And Adam, if you're still here, I'm going to hit you up about this like tomorrow, because I have an idea. Toshi, I assume you got an Evernorth Arctic Spirit. No, I actually didn't get one, man. I love those guys. I'm not drinking a lot of finished whiskey these days. And so for me to buy a bottle of finished whiskey, it just depends. And I think when that dropped, there was a lot of stuff hitting my bank account, or hitting my credit card rather. Like some pretty big expenses as far as barrel picks and stuff go. So I passed on it, but I might need to get an Arctic Spirit. This is the other thing, Toshi. Like, I have a Midwinter Night's Dram from 3 years ago behind me, and there's still more than half the bottle left. I just don't touch it. So it's not about not supporting those guys. It's just that style of whiskey is not something that I always go after. Definitely much better than Midwinter's. Good. That's good. Where are we going next? Where are we going to go next? Let's do this. Let's get into some of these picks. Why not? We'll do the barrel picks. If you're not a Patreon member and this is annoying for me to taste barrel picks on here, I totally understand. But we're going to taste those, and then we'll taste the Knob Creek 18 afterwards. I just think the oak on the Knob Creek 18 is probably something to go after these, even though it's a lower proof. All right, I promise now we're going to get some Venmo Super Chats. All right. First up. Oh my gosh. Come on now. Every app has so many pop-ups these days. Do you want cookies? Do you want to sign up for our credit card? Can you share your location? Totally kills me. All right, enough bitching from me. Bobby Holton, thank you for the super chat on Venmo. In for 3 says, "Gimme that Kota." All right, we got it. Fingers crossed. Tom Lonzo says, "Cheers, Cam. Love the streams. Keep the picks rolling." Thank you, Tom. So I got you in for 5. Tom, I think that's your second entry, isn't it? Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Will Molnar jumping in for 10 entries, $50 super chat. Thanks, Will. Let's go ahead and get these poured out while I read some of these off. Up next is Joe. Says, "Cheers. Looking forward to getting my cam barrel." Thanks, Joe. In for 5. Okay. Adam H. In for 2 says, "Gimme that Opus." You got it, man. Travis, let's do 2 more of these. I see a big one there. Holy crap. Travis, thank you. Says, "Just a tip for a chance at Nick's Digits." I know. I wish I was hanging out with those guys. I saw Nick go up to Evernorth. And finally, Toshi for freaking 20 entries. Cheers, dude. A little sip of this Year of the Rye. Toshi is in for 20. Thank you, ma'am. Says, "Cheers, buddy. Excited for the stream. Just got my Opus today. Cracking it now." Toshi, what do you think about Opus? Eric, let me get you in here. It looks like you got to get out of here. In for 1 says, "Want one of those River Roots so dang bad, even though I've never had any of their stuff." Got to get some of their stuff, man. Got to get you on the River Roots train. Toshi says, "The Willet C14A." It's crazy. Arrived on Monday, so I've got everything I've been waiting now to pour the samples. Dude, I can't freaking wait. Toshi is the king of ridiculous sample packs. Okay, first up, we're going to taste the Year of the Rye. This is 12-year, 8 months, 110 proof, MGP 95.5 rye. And just keep this in mind, guys, like for anybody that's in the Patreon as well, who's going to be buying this bottle in a couple of weeks when it drops, this is a different profile than the other ones that we've picked. Chunky Monkey, Funky Monkey, and the first rye from River Roots all came from these 11-year lots where the proofs were 120 to 130-ish. Very intense and a totally different MGP profile than we've seen on the market recently. But that's been kind of throughout 2024 that those have been hitting. This is from a different lot of barrels. I can't say exactly where these came from. It's interesting, but there's an NDA in place, and I don't want to break somebody else's NDA. But these are lower proof, and it makes sense, and the profile's a little bit different. So let's talk about it now. Yeah, so it's a little bit more of a rye lover's rye, to be honest. Like, I think the higher proof 120 to 130 MGP ryes, those are more of a bourbon drinker's rye. I know that phrase gets overused, but this is like for a rye lover. All right, so I pick up on more herbal notes, ginger ale, strong orange, like kind of a sweeter, more candied, citrusy orange thing. A little green tea in here too. So again, as I mentioned herbal, as I mentioned green tea, as I mentioned ginger ale, just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of a different profile. It's sweeter. It's a brighter, more candy shop sweetness to it overall. And I think your palate has to acclimate. Like I already took one little quick sip when I said cheers to Toshi. And that's a little jarring after all these double oaks and stuff. It's like, oh, where are we going with this rye? Second sip of this, it's rich. Even though it's only 110 proof, there's a great amount of spice to this rye. And that's the reason I picked this barrel, was because a lot of these barrels were pretty flat. 105, 107 proof. This one's only 110, but it drinks higher than that, I would say. Wow. Some lemon, little kind of lemongrass, candy like Starburst lemon notes. Yeah, I just think this is a really fantastic rye. It's more crushable than the other ones, like Chunky Monkey and Funky Monkey. Those were more like palate challengers. This is just delicious and kind of like what I talked about on the Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel Bourbon single barrel pick. This has kind of an effervescence to it as well on the palate, which makes sense given the fact that it's a rye. Let's see. Toshi says, Opus is really good. I do really like double oaked in general, and this has a beautiful and warm nose. Baking spice is oak, but not overly oaky. And that was important for us, Toshi, when we picked it. It was like, I didn't want it to be over oaked. Vanilla and surprisingly some orange. Extremely viscous, as Fred likes to say, drips down the jawline. Oak hits hard, but not in a bad way. Very enjoyable. Then I get a nice tingle on the tongue, back palate. The finish also was a big part of it. Like the mid palate has a little bit of a lull where it gets very sweet, kind of relaxes, and then the finish ramps way up. I'm glad you like it, man. Mike B, I'll get you in here. Thank you for the 2 entries. Says, cheers, Cam. Fingers crossed. Cheers, man. I'm sure there are notes in this rye that I'm missing. Let me go back and look real quick. I have some notes that I took when I first tasted this. I just want to see what I wrote. I wrote absolutely outstanding, rich orange and citrus notes. There we go. Oh, here we go. People are going to love this if you've been in the Patreon already. Wet rock, mineral, tobacco, funk. So it has the funkiness. Yeah, it does have some of that funkiness to it. I'm so used to it at this point, I don't think about it. Effervescent, but never too bright or poppy. Yeah, so it still has that dark kind of ginger ale, syrupy thing on the top, but the effervescence kind of pokes through it. And then it says, great palate development, long finish. I also made a note of the color, because when I was comparing this to the others, it was darker, but also this kind of strange yellow hue in the glass, which I thought was kind of interesting. Jason, less grassy than Heaven Hill Grain to Glass Rye. That's a different type of herbal thing, I think, in that. Like, that's a very dilly, piney kind of rye, I would say. The Heaven Hill Grain to Glass. Maybe pine is the best example. This is more of like a... Like when I say green tea herbal, I mean it's a little bit more of a aromatic and less abrasive thing on the palate. And then, like, I say that there's some lemongrass in here. Yeah, there is some of that, but it's not like freshly cut lawn to me. I'm so sensitive to that. Some of the barrels did have that note, but this is one that is more, balanced, I would say. Okay. Let's put this off to the side just for a second. Gonna make a mess. All right, give me just a sec, guys. I'm gonna take this hoodie off. I'm getting hot in here. Okay. Oh, I forgot I was wearing the shirt. Okay. I'm gonna taste this Opus Kota. I'll put it next to the original Opus too, just for fun. I've already done this comparison once, but it was from a sample out of the barrel. And so now that this Kota has officially been bottled, we can see what the differences are like. Oh, man. Josh, take it off, Cam. Terrence, Cam, where'd you get those glasses? These are just from Amazon. I'm working right now on getting these made with logos so that we can, well, I'll be damned. Okay, well, Opus Kota is kind of a good bit darker than the original Opus. Uh-oh. We don't drink with our eyes, but there is a little difference going on there. Okay. So on the nose of Kota, there's like a, yeah, there's almost like a gingerbread kind of thing. Gingerbread, molasses, kind of a spicy, like a Mexican chocolate. Little coffee in here too. Gosh, man. I think it's a little more of a coffee, more coffee in Kota than there is in Opus on the nose. Opus is a little more of a milk chocolate, I think. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Keep in mind this was just bottled today. This was not put into a tote or you know, this was not put into a dump trough and bottled. This was pulled straight from the barrel. We ran it through one filter, pumped it straight into the bottles. So I just grabbed, you know, a few of these bottles myself. They haven't all been bottled yet, but a couple of them have for this. I'll be damned. Okay, these are closer than I thought they were actually as far as profile goes. The last time I tasted these side by side from the sample I have, this one was brighter and more cherry. So let's see what the palate's like. Good God. Andrew Campbell, thank you for this. That is okay. That's some whiskey. Andrew Campbell in for 5. Hoping to be able to snag a lot of the upcoming picks. DD3 has been one of my favorite whiskeys I've bought recently. I'm glad you like DD3. DD3, I think, has mostly been enjoyed. A few people have said it's a little too oaky for them, and that, as somebody who is afraid of a lot of oak from a second barrel, I understand. But I'm glad you enjoy that one. Dude, Kota is freaking good. Let's go back to Opus, the original, which has some air in the bottle. Very different as far as like the way they drink. And that was I think the difference also that I noted when I first tasted these side by side. Opus original, soft on the front of the palate. You get these like really dark fruit notes, crazy sweetness, and then it ramps up, and I have this like sticky dark fruit kind of finish going on right now. The finish is just amazing. It's spicy, it's long, it continues to evolve. The Kota is a more front-heavy experience. It hits you up front harder with that kind of gingerbread note. It's huge on the front of the palate. Wow. It ramps up fast. It kind of maintains itself, slight crescendo, and then starts to fall away. Whereas the other one enters and then ramps up. So 2 different drinking experiences, but the profiles are freaking close. I think the Opus original, I think the original Opus has more of a fruit note to it, like a dark fruit. Kota, a little bit more of a baked cherry pie, so teeny bit of a brighter fruit, even though cherries are still dark. The finish of Kota is way, way more leather and chocolate. It's like old whiskey finish on this. The Opus also had some of that, but I think it was a little bit more of a balanced experience because it had that dark fruit thing on the finish too. Both ridiculous, both fantastic. $185, and I actually don't feel bad about that price point. Like, I think the whiskey lives up to that. James, what's up, man? Coming in late. I agree with your impression on the ECVP Toasted. I like the intensity without a huge increase in sweetness. Lots of leather on the back end. So guys, James is who sent this bottle. I think, James, the only complaint for me is that it gets a little bit rubbery on the oak. I think that's what this says here. It's actually cool to put that next to Kota. And I think that the Elijah Craig comes off way more coffee now. Like, it literally tastes like coffee grounds on my palate. And that makes sense because it is that darker oak. Brett, I've got your Venmo right here, man. It's actually the next one up after Toshi's that I got in. Let me grab it real quick before you get out of here. Brett, good hang last night, by the way, dude. In for 4 with a little gas pump emoji. Thanks, bro. Wish I could hang all night, but alarm goes off at 4. Also sent you a Venmo. Won't be around to check. Have a good one. You too, man. Sleep tight, Brett. Early morning, dude. Jesse says, I've noticed 2 things most bourbon drinkers obsess with. Ooh, wicked bourbon belch right there. Whew. 2 things most bourbon drinkers obsess over, more than they probably should: color and proof. Dark color, hazmat, guaranteed sellout, even if it's overpriced and mediocre. I do agree wholeheartedly with that. It is interesting. It's like, I think those 2 things that you mentioned, you could put age in this category too, but I think age is more, I think age can track a little bit better, like expectation-wise. But color and proof don't really mean shit, because you can get a 130 proof bottle like the original Opus that to me drinks like 115 until you get to the finish. Then you can also get another 130 proof bottle like Opus Kota that drinks like 140 at the front of the palate. It's a just blistering monster, but it's still only 130 proof. Likewise, color, you can fake people out with color all day with double oaked. But age is something that doesn't necessarily lie. I think age, you find your outliers. You find your 5 years that taste like 10. But those are few and far between. Age is generally, I think, a better measure of setting your expectations for a whiskey, whereas proof and color are not. Joe, why do people keep saying Elijah Craig barrel proof toasted? Joe, I don't think you were here for the beginning, man. They're doing private barrels of toasted at barrel proof. That's why we were talking about the rye earlier too. The rye is not at barrel proof yet. I would imagine they'll do that at some point, but this is a toasted barrel proof bourbon. Oh, Bitcoin's about to hit 100K? Wow. Calvin, can River Roots picks get any better? Thanks, Ken. Thanks, man. I'm going to hype River Roots to the end of the earth because just the best people, and the whiskey's phenomenal. They're taking chances, but they're also being careful with not just bringing anything in. They're saying no to a lot of offers they get for barrels, and they're curating just, I think, a really good inventory of stuff. Dennis says, does anyone know for sure that the new Turkey 1018 year is going to be a standard shelfer? I don't know that for sure. I guess maybe I've heard that, and it's an assumption, but I don't know. Joe. Bro, I can't put that on the screen. Joe Dickinson. Oh, we got 2 Joes now. We got dueling Joes in the chat. This is a Virginia ABC pick. River Roots is about to be at 100K trust tokens. Sean, I think color's a relevant topic compared to Scotch. They allow E150. Scotch color's bullshit. Sometimes bourbon is all wood. I agree, but even if bourbon is all wood, it can be bad wood. That's what she said. James says it doesn't hit me as rubber, but I definitely agree on the call out of Sagamore Double Oak, similar things on the nose. I think for some reason I'm overly sensitive to that like heavy note that we're talking about. For me, it comes off as rubber a lot of the time. But I think in this case, when I went back to it after tasting Kota, the comparison made it taste only like coffee, which maybe, like, let me ask you, James, do you get coffee on that? Cam says, a pair of Cams watching a Cam drink bourbon, one productive night at work. That's freaking funny. Cheers to the Cams. Yeah, Jason, River Root started, I think, like 14 months ago. So it was like fall of 2023. All right, let's revisit these one more time. Kota and Opus. Kota is stronger on the nose for sure. Good God, man. These barrels were freaking crazy. These were, I can't say the source of the base whiskey, but the base whiskey came from Totes, 10 years old, 75-15-10 mash bill, distilled at a distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. And that toted whiskey was just put into these reconditioned Wild Turkey and Four Roses barrels. And these are both turkey finishes, which is why the turkey's on the front label. These are freaking whiskeys. That's the dumbest thing I've ever said. All right. Well, either way. Let's keep going now. On to some other pours. Jeremy, good to see you, man. Catch up tomorrow, early morning. Cheers, dude. Josh, drinking the Sap Squatch, and I do agree to the comments you said, well-rounded for a finish. Let's do a little Kota blend here before we move on. What other samples do we have out here? Oh, I wanted to try... this is a good segue. Wow, we still got the Knob. Well, let's do the Knob Creek. If we don't get to all these samples, that's okay. We've got other weeks. But I do want to make sure I get to the Knob Creek. We've only been live for an hour and 18. Wow. I think we're covering a lot of ground, actually. Fairly quickly. Rizzle D, have you heard anything about Sealbox 10-year double oaked? Hang on, let me see what's available online about this. Here it is. Okay, so they give the mash bill. So I didn't know if this was like information that was not publicly available. So, okay, the Sealbox 10-year double oak is the same mash bill as Opus and Opus Kota. Now, the Sealbox has been sold out for quite a while. From what I understand, it is not the same process of double oaking that went into these Opuses, which was the reconditioned Four Roses, reconditioned turkey barrels that people have been picking from. My understanding of the Sealbox is that, yeah, here we go. It's actually in the description. 2 new toasted char 4 barrels and 2 Speyside cooperage char 4 barrels. So these were, the oak that they used was new oak, and the stuff that was used for the Opuses were reconditioned, already used barrels. But the underlying whiskey is the same. Interestingly enough, guys, I think I probably said this last week, the Old Commonwealth revival. So we've seen this Old Commonwealth brand come back. Old Commonwealth is where Julian Van Winkle bottled a bunch of stuff back in the day. They revived the brand. They sold a super limited run of 10-year cast strength. And guess what the mash bill is? 10 years old, 75-15-10. Same stuff probably that's in the Opus, that's in this seal box. And somehow the Old Commonwealth, because it's a revival of an old brand, is going for $900 on the secondary market, which is batshit crazy when you consider the fact that, like, these double oaks are readily available and the seal box is readily available at like $200, maybe even less. So I I really want to get a sample of the Old Commonwealth, but there's no way in hell I'm going to pay $40 an ounce to get those samples, which is the current secondary value, basically. There's no way I'm going to pay that, because then you get 4 ounces, and I could have bought a bottle of this. Morgan, no, I haven't had the new Coy Hill, unfortunately. And I'm not on the media list for those guys. I'm actually not on pretty much any media list. There's probably a lot of reasons for that. One is the channel size, and two is, you know, I have been pulled from some media lists because I've given negative reviews, and that's okay. Anyone know where the distillate? Oh, so that's MGP rye. That's like one of those high proof MGP ryes, like Chunky Monkey. And Ryan said that's a pretty good barrel. Like, Ryan went and picked it, and he was like, hey, this is a banger barrel. It's just a little pricier than the River Root stuff because it's 150. Thoughts on Brook Hill, all hype? I can't really speak to Brook Hill too much. I've only tasted 6 of the ryes. Orlando on here sent me a bunch of those, which was awesome. 3 of them were excellent, and 3 of them I felt like weren't even in... 2 or 3 of them weren't really even in the same league as the top. So that showed me kind of right off the bat with Brook Hill that there's a wide range of qualities. Because if you have 6 of them and the quality ranges that much, then to me, I would extrapolate that onto the rest of the releases, which now, you know, I feel like you throw a rock and you hit a Brook Hill. Like, every time I get on social media, I see a new Brook Hill somewhere being sold out in the RC Clubhouse group for $500 a bottle. And it's just like, these prices are frankly a little absurd. Some of them are crazy. Like, Prov's pick is over 150 proof. Short Barrel, yes, that's probably a $500 bottle, you know. But some of the others, they're not short barrels. They're 10 years old, and people are selling them for these crazy prices. But at the same time, I've only tasted 1 Brook Hill bourbon, so I can't speak to the quality on those. It's just hard for me to imagine, after having tasted the ryes and the selection of those barrels being, you know, pretty widely varying, that the bourbons wouldn't also have that as a factor as well. So my kind of philosophy for myself as far as Brook Hill goes is like, I'm not going to buy them because the risk isn't worth the possibility that one of those is going to be at the same quality as like my least favorite rye of the Brook Hill 11s that I tasted. And if I spend $500 on a bourbon and I get that level of quality, I would be disappointed. Whereas if I spent $500 and I got the quality of the top rye that I tasted in that flight, I'd be very happy, because those, like Went and Las Palmas, are 2 of the best ryes I've ever had in my life. But the other one's not so good. And the thing is, like, they go up for sale on these different, you know, websites from different stores, and they sell out in like a minute. And so it's not even that you have a chance to know even what you're buying. You're just blindly buying a Brook Hill. That also, it's like, I can't commit to that amount of money. So it's more of a collector's item thing. It's more of like, you know, if you're an RC, you know, mega fan and you want to collect all these and you have the money to do so, like, that's okay. But it's not really for me because of all those factors. Slad, I tried your Brook Hill bourbon, dude, whichever one that was. Whichever one you gave me at Pours in the Park. Ha, Bourbon Bill, what's up, dude? Yeah, I paid $1,300 for Heaven Hill 18 when it first came out. You're fucking right. I'm used to disappointment. And look at this. Look at this. This is what I've got left. But I'll be totally real with you, bro. I sold samples of this to recoup some money. $1,300 was a punch in the mouth. Dennis says, you're kind of on the Evernorth media list. There's no such thing. That's just called being friends with those guys. Although, listen, I've never tasted Arctic Spirit. You know? Keegan says, Cam, I got to get a super chat here. Cam, have you tried some of the 8.5-year ryes from Driftless? We found one for... Yeah, Keegan, for sure, man. I picked one of those, bro. Yeah, it took some, it took some Well, actually, I don't want to say that. It didn't take digging. This was our third barrel that we tasted that day. Pretty sure it was our third. But after we found this barrel, we kept digging through these 8-year ryes to see if we could find one that was better. But all the other 8 years that we tasted, they all had that peach ring note to them. And I like that note, but it's often overdone. And I think every driftless rye pick that I've ever tasted has the peach ring note. So I wanted to find one that didn't have that note, and this was the only one that we tasted that day that did not have that note. And it also had the best palate of the bunch, so it was like a total win-win for us. But no, I've definitely tasted those. Our bourbon was also 8 years old. Yeah, Heaven Hill 17 is freakishly better. Okay, so Slad, that was the Emerson bottle. Okay. That was a great friggin' bottle, dude. And I was pretty drunk at that point in the night when you gave me that. But I remember being like, holy shit, that's great whiskey. But that's the thing, man. It's like, if that exists, and then there's also some misses, but you're putting it over this, under this umbrella of a brand that, you know, the SRP is like $500 or something, I feel like, for those bottles from what I've seen. It's tough. Josh, Heaven Hill 17 was disappointing. Dang, dude. We're gonna have to just move on. we're gonna fight, bro. And I mean with our words, because my little stick arms aren't gonna do much. Matt, thank you for the super chat, bro. Let's see what we got here. Let's get you in. In for one. Says, cheers, Gamix. Escape to enjoy the driftless picks and watch your live stream while I can. No more kids in the near future. Oh, man. That's awesome, dude. Growing the family. Congrats, man. Justin said, paying 1.3K for Heaven Hill 18. Bye-bye, trust tokens. We got to get trust tokens made. Toshi says, I think Opus beats Heaven Hill 18, and I like Heaven Hill 18. I actually think I agree with you, man. I think the Opus bottles are... And that's not a testament to Opus necessarily. That's kind of an indictment of Heaven Hill 18, if we're being honest. Yeah, Josh, you would just do this, and I couldn't get to you. That's funny. What is oh, this is the 50-50 blend of the Opuses, so it's had time to marinate. Yeah, that blend works. That's a very good blend. It's hot, though. It's a hot potato. Holy crap. Well, if anybody gets Opus Kota and also has Opus One, give it a little 50-50 blend. Got to figure out what's going to be Opus 2. I've got some ideas. We're going to try to drop that maybe around March. We just got to find something that's worth the label on that. All right. We got to keep going into some other things now. Let me grab some more glasses. And I think all right. So this is Year of the Rye. Pause. Just for a second. After all this Opus stuff. Yeah. There's almost like a sweet tart note to it. It's got that candy sweetness. So we're going to go now to the Knob Creek 18 Batch 3. I may have to do a video on Knob Creek 18 Batches 1 through 3. Maybe I do it blind or something. I don't think I ever blinded batches 1 and 2. I know I've compared them, and I thought I liked batch 2 better than batch 1. I think that's right. It's been a while. It's obviously been probably about a year. All right, Chip says, love those River Roots bottles. Thanks, Chip. Get you in here. I fat fingered it. I wrote Chippo. You are Chippo now. All right, so let's grab a few more Venmos here. Mr. Brian Schuba is in for 2. Says, thanks for the whiskey. Thank you, Brian. All right, we got Scotty in here for 4. Says, CA Scotty, turkey tacos. Thank you, man. Guy is jumping in with 10 entries. Thank you, Guy. Says, cheers, man. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, Guy. I'm a little tired today. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and that is all Brett's fault. Brett is no longer here. He went to bed. But we were up late video chatting with some other people in the Long Island Bourbon social group. It was very late. Justin, in for freaking 20 entries, dude. Thank you. Holy shit, I'm going to see you tomorrow, man. So guys, I'm handing off the George T. Stag and the Stag 24B to Justin tomorrow. I'm going to drive out to the old Indy. And then he's going to give me Thomas H. Handy 2024, because I guess he got a Thomas H. Handy this week, even after getting a GTS last week, and I'll get a review of that done. So I filmed my review of GTS last night and my review of Stag 24B last night as well. So I'm going to try to get those out as soon as possible. Zach Butler in for 2. Thank you, Zach. Amy is in for 4. Says, cheers to you and Sarah. Hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving. Hope the same for you as well, Amy. Sounds like things have been busy for you, but I hope you're okay. Hope everything's good. Larry is in for 1. Tacos and Eagle, he says. And Sam is going to be in for 1. Says, no way Kota is better than Opus One. I didn't say that. I mean, I can't pick a favorite. They're all my favorite. Let's keep going now into this Knob Creek 18. Phil says, rare character pick fall through. I noticed it's off the spreadsheet. I think with all that, I'm just kind of moving on, because the wait list for rare character, I can't even imagine how long it is. So I did the initial form that you fill out, and that was probably 4 months ago or 3 months ago, and I haven't heard anything. And there's so many rare character picks out there now that I think we're good. I think we're getting a lot of cool stuff from other places, and I don't really have a relationship with those guys. So it's if it's a game of where you need to have a relationship, and in order to get the best barrels and stuff, I don't know how it works with them. That's how it works at some other places. It's cool, So I just took it off the spreadsheet because I was like, I don't really have any expectations anymore of this happening. So there you go. Oh, man, that freaking Knob 18 smells good. And I love oak. So 18-year whiskey, lots and lots of funky oak. Put it right here in front of me. Smells great. All hail Chippo. Frank says, can please do a comparison on Knob Creek 18, 1 through 3 in the future? You know what, Frank? Maybe I'll do that in my... Maybe I'll just do that in my review of this batch. Cam, Travis says, Cam, hear me out. Get the BJs to get their Green River to 5 years in the regular barrels. Kelvin Char 2 to 3 more, phenomenal, coming from experience. Travis, I think their Green River, I mean, I feel like I saw the barrel head in their picture, and I thought it said 17 on it, so it would be 7 years old. Is that not true? Because it looked to me like it was older stuff. I'm going to pull up their Patreon real quick and see. Maybe I looked at something incorrectly, though. Let's see. It says lot number. It says 17 at the beginning. I mean, I have to imagine that's 7-year Green River. But I don't know. Greg says, late to the chat, been hiding from Cam, suggesting I spend more money. Yeah, we all had an experience earlier in the Discord. What's up, Sandeep? Okay, let's go. The running complaint against Knob Creek 18 from some people is that it's over oaked. I don't understand that complaint because I love oak. So you can smack me over the head with the freaking log and I'm good. You know, I can chew on a branch and be okay. So this is very oaky on the nose. It's a very sweet oak, I would say, and it's like, you know, in this case, we're getting into like Evan Williams 23 oak territory, I would say. Just want to smell this. It's more vanilla usually. Yeah, a little more. I love that Evan Williams 23. Oh my God. So this isn't quite as sweet as the Evan Williams, but lots of intense sweet, but also funky, musty oak. I'm not picking up any nuttiness on this Knob Creek 18, which I feel like in years past I have picked up nuttiness. So maybe that's different this year. So one complaint of this is always that it's too oaky. Again, I don't understand that complaint. But the other one is that it's too low of proof. I do understand that complaint. I have lobbed the same complaint at this for 2 years straight now. And I would say this probably for a third year. I just wish this was higher proof. However, there's something about the balance of this one where I'm actually picking up fruit notes and not just oak and dark nuttiness and, you know, dark caramels and like kind of just old whiskey notes. I'm getting this fruitiness with it. But it is crushable at the proof. But at $160-ish, I think I'd probably take this over like a Calumet Farm 16. So I'm trying to think of other, you know, semi-available 16, I guess, to 18-year products on the market. So this is at 106 proof, so a little higher proof point. Haven't opened this bottle in probably a year and a half. I'll take the Knob Creek all day. 100%. So Calumet 15 and 16 still sit on shelves across the country at SRP, you know, 140 to 160 between the two. Knob Creek 18, first year was highly unavailable. Now second and third releases have been very available. They just sit around by the case. Like here in Ohio, they're just sitting at SRP. If you want an old whiskey, and if you just want to know what an old whiskey tastes like and what heavy oak influence on a whiskey tastes like, and you're not concerned about not having something at barrel proof, this is like the best option on the market, frankly, because you can find it. It's not often marked up anymore because they don't fly away quickly. So they stay at SRP 180, 160 to 180-ish. I think this is a great option, and I think it's highly overlooked. Its only comparison is EC18, which, yeah, I agree. I think this Knob Creek would crush EC18. EC18 is like water. It's like oak water. I wish if EC18 was bottled at barrel proof, we would all be in trouble. Chris, Cam, did you snag that Knob Creek 12 120 proof? Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yes, I do have something on the way. It's not here yet, though. Justin, Cam, ask Dan and Sean if any barrels came from Warehouse G. Yeah, can't put that on the screen. there is a spot in their warehouse within Warehouse G that it's a spot in Warehouse G, and you can put the rest together. Sean, I also agree, man. Like, getting a Knob Creek pick. Hell, listen, I've had 11-year picks that are as good as the 15-year picks. Anything, if we could just get away from the 9-year picks, I think we'd be good. You know, maybe the sweet spot is 12 years. I would take a 12-year pick any day. And also at barrel proof. Get rid of this 120 proof crap. I do like this Knob Creek 18. I don't know. It's my profile though. It's old Kentucky classic notes. Little fruitiness in this, like dark fruit, but not crazy. It's mostly focused on sweet oak / funky rickhouse oak and leather and dark caramels. So very classic notes, brown sugars, all that kind of stuff. I like it. All right, how are we doing? Besides these samples. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. It's going to be kind of hard coming off the Knob Creek, so maybe I need to reset my palate first quickly with something else. We'll take another sip of Year of the Rye just to kind of reset my palate. Sandeep, what laser code's on your bottle? Don't get me started. I can always go for a good laser code joke, though. It no longer cuts too deep. All right, let's go back to Venmo. Grab a few more of these. Easton Oliver, I think the last one was Sam. Yep, so Easton Oliver is jumping in for 2. Thank you. With a little whiskey emoji. Randy Johnson says in for 4. Oh, gotta spell this correctly. There we go. Says, not just for my husband this time. Happy Thanksgiving, Cam. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Art Sanchez in for 5. There we go. Says, always enjoy the content. You do a great job on your picks. Thank you. Yeah, we've had some really good luck, I feel like, this year with picks. Nothing that's really stood out as far as like a, it's like a dud, I would say. We've had some, pricing on a few things has been a little high, and it's good information to keep that. It's good to keep that in the back of your mind moving forward, but things like that are always going to happen here and there and slip through the cracks. But by and large, I think we've done really good, and I'm excited to see where 2025 goes. Especially, I'm excited to see how the Crittendens is received, and I'm excited to see how the Bard and the Princess in January are received, because I'm nervous for both of those, and those are on very opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, Crittendens will probably be around $60 to $70-ish, and Bard and Princess are going to be like $300 to $350 a piece. You have a craft distiller that not a lot of people have tasted from, which is Crittendens, and then you have these Buffalo Turkey barrels everyone's talking about for the other, and I'm equally as nervous for both of those. The short barrel stuff is going to be great. I think people are going to fall all over those or fall in love with those, whatever. The Year of the Rye, I think, is going to be fine. I think Opus Kota is going to be great, but it's some of those other things that people don't know about or that are high priced that I kind of worry about. All right, up next, we got Jesse says, getting my bank account used to the Cam pick pain. Leo says, want that Opus. We got Scott in for 2, says, cheers. Any thoughts on the Southern Collective Spirit Rye release today? Fingers crossed on Kota. I would say, if you're looking for another bottle that tastes like, for our picks, it would be Chunky Funky and Drums and Drams Rye 1. For others, they might think about Subtle Spirits and other NDP sourcing that stuff, Short Barrel, 12-year ryes. If you're looking for a high-proof MGP rye, I think you should absolutely trust the fact that Southern Collective bottle is going to be awesome. Ryan Alves picked that bottle, and, he picks great freaking barrels. So the only reason I'm not picking one of those up is just because I spent a shitload of money today. Like, way more money than I should have spent. But I'm very tempted to pick one of those up still. And once I get off this live stream, I still might end up picking one of those up. Dylan says, cheers, brother. Sipping on your Driftless Glen bourbon. Bring on Year of the Rye. Cheers, man. Speaking of which, that's what I'm going to have a sip of right now. Starting to develop a lemon lime Sprite profile just on that Year of the Rye. It's kind of all over the place in a cool way. Very different profile. Interested to see what people think about that one. Lawrence Chang says, for the solid, that's what she said joke. Yeah, that was a little while ago. That's funny. Thanks, Lawrence. I think we're almost caught up. Let's do one more, and then we'll get into another tasting. We are almost there, though. That's great. We're turning a new leaf. Staying caught up, except we still started at 9:07 tonight. So, Matt Thomas, glad to support and appreciate the opportunity at these fantastic picks. Thank you, man. Okie dokie. Let's keep going. What's up, Daniel? So that's what I'm on to next. I'm on to the Double Jeopardy. So, guys, Whiskey Blendery. Some of you might not be familiar with this company. I've talked about them once, maybe twice before here on the channel. I visited the Whiskey Blendery at the end of July with Jeb from the Patreon. And we went through and we blended for this competition, which was just a cool experience to be able to do it. And while I was there, I picked up a couple of their bottles. Now, the Whiskey Blendery, after we did that, I talked to those guys and I was like, hey, would you be interested in doing like a barrel pick or a blend or something for Drums and Drams? And they were interested, but they were like, we've never really had distribution with a place like Bourbon Outfitter. And so they were kind of unsure. And we hooked them up with Bourbon Outfitter, kind of made the connection, didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Seemingly, it has happened because they've now had a couple of drops on Bourbon Outfitter before our barrel pick, which is going to be in January. They've released one of those Buffalo Turkey barrels. They've released some other blend that maybe had some Ambarana going on with it, like a 3-day Ambarana finish or something. And then they released this Double Jeopardy, but it's batch 2 of Double Jeopardy. This is number 1. So I picked up number 1 in July. It's got a crazy story. I can't remember it exactly, but it was like, I think it was an accident that different white dogs got mixed in maybe to a barrel, and it was like a bourbon and a rye, and it was not supposed to be that way. And so they aged together, and they don't even really know the mash bill because it was an accident. So they're calling these barrels Double Jeopardy. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. Someone can correct me in the comments. But there is a second batch of Double Jeopardy that's older than this, actually, on Bourbon Outfitter right now. And I thought, let's taste this tonight, revisit this Double Jeopardy bottle and check it out and see maybe if that second batch is worth, pulling the trigger on. And by the way, we're going down to Whiskey Blendery, in January, and we're going to do something. I don't know if it's going to be a pick or a blend. No clue right now, but very excited for that visit because they have cool shit at the Whiskey Blendery, and they're good guys. I'm just really excited. So, and last time I was there, I got a little too tipsy, and I feel bad, and I was kind of slurring my words a little bit, and I hate that. I hate leaving that impression after, especially a barrel pick. But that one wasn't a barrel pick. That was more of a fun thing that we were doing. But even still, I don't like leaving that impression. So I'm like, I'm gonna go meet those guys under different circumstances. Frank says, funny how Cam did the Russell's 10 video before all this LLME blow up. I did it on a live stream on purpose. I didn't make a video first because I didn't want to be the person that got blamed for all this shit. And so this year I've avoided that. The blame has been shifted this year, and that's okay. Not that it matters because it's a totally different thing than C923. We're talking about legitimately different batches now, whereas C923 was speculated about just one single batch with variances. So to be fair, it is totally not the same thing. David says, I need a case of that Dusty Crittenden's. You're not going to believe that Crittenden's, dude. You're not going to believe Barrel 46. It is in a league of its own. Joe says, just had my first pour of Evernorth Drums and Drams 4. Man, that packs a punch. Flavor bomb. I'm glad you like it. Well, I guess you didn't say you like it. At least you said it's a flavor bomb, though. Josh says the buff turkey stuff is so overhyped. It's mostly 80% of the time it's overhyped. There are excellent barrels in those lots, just like anything else. But a lot of places are getting away with selling like not good barrels, probably, because people are just going to buy it based on stats and based on the story. And again, like having tasted quite a number of those barrels at this point, I have noticed that I would say, 80 to 85% of those are not good. Good God. Okay. Anthony with a good question. You still feel like Old Stubborn is in convo for best of the year? Probably not. I think it's real. I haven't revisited Old Stubborn in a long time. I think I'm probably in a little too deep at this point in the night to go over and check that out. But with everything else that I'm trying to get through it, I guess at this point, it's probably like in the top 20 maybe of the year, but it's definitely not like a top 10er, at least in my mind right now. Although if you put it in a blind, I'd be interested to see how it turns out. But for some reason, I feel like it would stand out in a blind. But I think Old Stubborn 2, you know what? God. I can't sit and speculate on this shit. You just got to get it in the glass, because I don't have very much of this left. That smells good. I must have forgot. It's been a long time since I've sipped this. I went crazy for this earlier in the year, so I need to remember that. Trust myself on this. Let's see. Okay, so this is Knob Creek 18. Old Stubborn is not that old, but let's see. Shit, all right. Oh, man, that's good. So that is back in the conversation, actually. Yeah, that's back in the conversation for probably top 12. Like, damn, that's really good. That is totally different than Knob Creek 18, completely different experience. But it's got a hint of craftiness to it from that pot still. I don't remember it being quite this crafty, but I still love it. That, like, the balance is freaking awesome in that bottle. Josh says, Dude Cam, I don't do live streams like this. I don't do the Patreons and whatever else you content creators do. But, man, this has been fun this last week or so. Hope you shoot to the moon. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I know this is not for everybody. Sitting here for 2 hours, 3 hours, like watching somebody drink whiskey. I understand that can be kind of weird. And there are some folks that just swear it off on principle because they just think it's silly. And I don't blame them one bit. Because, we all have different ways of engaging with the community. Like, I'm not in Louisville or Lexington or Bardstown where these hotspots are. There's a great community in Columbus, don't get me wrong, of whiskey people. But for me, I get my interaction with the whiskey community either this way or in the Discord and the Patreon, because it's, you know, it's the most accessible way for me to do it. If I was down in Louisville or something, I'd probably be hanging out with Brian, Abandoned Bourbon, a lot, and other people, and running around a little bit more than I am now, just out to places in town. But right now, for me to get to those places, I have to travel. So we all kind of have different avenues of engaging with the community, but I do like this, and again, I know it's not for everybody. But yeah, that Old Stubborn, that's really good. It's really damn good. That's why I shouldn't have just written it off in my brain like, oh, it's probably top 25. It's like, just retaste it and realize how good that is. Jesse, I think of the surprising bourbons of the year, Limestone Farms Private Stock beats Old Stubborn handily. Interesting. I could see that. It's probably a little darker profile as well. I don't know. Greg says, I definitely think Old Stubborn 2 was a step up from 1. I agree. 1 was a very particular profile. You had to like nuttiness. You had to like, you know, a lot of spice. But I like these live streams. Yeah, like some of the guys are saying here. I like this engagement. It's a lot of fun. So let's go on now to the Double Jeopardy, like I was talking about a second ago. 110 proof. It's not a single barrel, I don't believe. I think it's probably a blend of barrels, probably proof down to 110. And they just call it a blend of straight whiskey because they don't actually really know the exact proportions in here. So on the nose, you can distinctly smell that this is MGP. It's fairly obvious right away. I will, hang on. I might give the blendery a little bit of crap here for their labeling. Let's see. I may give them a little crap because it doesn't say distilled in on the label. It just says hand bottled by the Whiskey Blendery. So I don't think they have a state of distillation on the label for this. It says Double Jeopardy is a very limited offering created in 2017 by accidentally blending bourbon and rye distillate White Dog before entering the barrel. In mid-2019, I didn't know this. They were re-barreled in a second new charred American oak barrel. The mash bill remains unknown to this day, thus never being able to replicate it again. Okay. So I just think the only complaint for them as far as labeling goes is put distilled in Indiana on here, but I know that this is MGP. You can smell it. It has a little bit of that MGP yeasty note that I'm not the biggest fan of. However, there's enough supporting it in here that I'm okay. Very, very good palate. It's a great blend. Like, MGP is usually not this caramel forward and caramel driven. There's usually more fruit or maybe more citrus with a rye heavy MGP. If it's older, it's going to be kind of like a dark purple or black fruit for their bourbons. But this one, very caramel driven. It's a kind of a different take, I would say. Also that kind of baked goods thing that I talk about sometimes, almost like the top of a toasted cornbread. But the development on the palate is what's so special. It has the sweetness of the bourbon, but the ramp up and spice in the mid palate of the rye. So I think it's a solid buy. Especially people that like if any of you out there are Barrel King fans, this reminds me in some ways of a Barrel King release. I don't know which Barrel King I would compare it to because it's a different thing with the Double Jeopardy aspect. I grabbed. I have a few samples. Some have disappeared, seemingly because I didn't see them in the mix. But I just grabbed this one called Batch to the Future, which is batch 88 Barrel King. I want to put these next to each other. Molly says, question is, did you buy batch 2 with all your spending today? I have not bought the batch 2 Double Jeopardy. I am considering it in my brain right now. I got to do this comparison. Oh, shit. Okay. Jesse, did anyone pull the trigger on the J-Hob Shorty? Yeah, I'm curious to know who all here bought one of those. There were quite a number of people. Okay, so this is the Barrel King, which is 5 proof points higher, called Batch to the Future. It's spicier on the nose. There's a little green Jolly Rancher note. Nice ramp up of spice. And again with that green Jolly Rancher note on the palate. Good drinking experience to that. All right. Now, when I go to the Double Jeopardy, back on the nose, it has this funky oak thing that I did not pick up at first because I needed this comparison. I was coming off of the Knob Creek 18 and some of the other stuff. What else did I taste? Oh, the Old Stubborn. So coming off some older products to this did not do this justice. There's this funky oak thing and funky leather thing that I did not notice. The Barrel King smells cleaner on the nose, like a cleaner, more direct profile, which then will track when I say green Jolly Rancher because that's a little bit more of a candied, like, focused note. And then the Double Jeopardy. Weird. It's and almost a little bit of like a... This is going to sound like a negative, but it's not. Like an oatmeal note, like some kind of grain note that doesn't feel young. So that's a little counterintuitive, but it plays with the funkiness in here. And I think the reason is because it's that blend of distillate in the barrel. Oh shit, that's a winner. God, I might be buying batch 2 of this freaking Double Jeopardy from the Whiskey Blendery. I might be buying one of these tonight. And then why not just buy the Southern Collective Rye, too? Adam, that's a good question. Does it remind you of your Evernorth 40-40-20? Except, I mean, possibly, but the finishing wave stave barrel is going to blow the other one out of the water in comparison. Yeah, it's just a different beast, for sure. Yeah, no real comparison there just because of that wave stave. Jeb says, you don't have to buy everything, just letting you know. I know, Jeb. Jeb, have you tried the Double Jeopardy second release that they've done? That's what we're talking about now. Trying to predict what that one might be like after tasting this one. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up tonight's giveaway in 8 minutes. So at 11:20 p.m. Eastern, we're going to wrap up the giveaway and get that done. Just so you know, I'm going to get the rest of the Super Chats in now. Henry, yeah, we're talking about the 12-year Southern Collective Rye. Let me make sure there's no other PayPals that came through. Although, guys, if you do decide to order anything, make sure you use code CAM at checkout at Bourbon Outfitter. That'll get you 5% off, and it helps support the channel. There you go. Shameless plug for the night. Good old Code Cam. All right, back to Venmo. Let's wrap these super chats up. Okay. I think the last one was Matt Thomas. There we go. So we are pretty much here. Justin Carpenter, thank you, man. Got you in for one. There you go. Says cheers. Cheers to you. Jason Zell with a very generous $100 super chat. 20 entries, Jason. Thank you so much, man. Says Opus for the win. Cheers, bro. Daniel, Mr. Pink Dan, in for one. Says, Dark Arts, Bourbon Junkies in my glass tonight. Lots of coconut. Interesting, coconut. You know, coconut is not a note that I pick up very much. It's very occasional, although a lot of Scotch people, when they talk about American oak impact, like when you put Scotch into virgin American oak, they will talk about coconut quite often, I've found. But still, coconut is not a note that maybe it's because I don't eat enough coconut that I'm just not as sensitive to it, maybe. Andrew Parrott in for 3 says cheers, thank you. We got a couple more here that just came in. Christopher Lau. Excuse me, guys. The bourbon belches are strong tonight. Christopher is in for 1. Says, Opus One, please, sir. Thank you. Daniel Patterson. Daniel P., I will see you in January, dude. I'm freaking excited for those barrel picks. Cheers, dude. The only knock on the Double Jeopardy for me is that kind of, it's not as bad as or not as prevalent, I should say, as a lot of those 6 to 8 year MGPs, but it's got that yeast note, that little bit of a yeast note to it. But everything else surrounding that yeast note is so unique and different on this that I'm willing to look past it. All right, Mr. Hines is in for 20. Thank you, man. Thank you for your tips tonight. I got you in there. Dan Pacifico, I think we're on the last 2 now, is in for 2. Says Cracked and Knob Creek 18 tonight, and after it's a great drinker and good oak. Hey Maury, you just requested $25 instead of sending $25. I'll send you $25, Maury. But that was funny. Maury requests $25 and said in for 5. That was funny. Bobby Holton, I got you in again. Says spoiler, and then we got Adam in for 2. Adam, you didn't need to do that, man. I owe you for all these freaking samples. Thank you, dude. I'm gonna wear the shit out of this shirt until until we get the pre-sale together, and I can buy 10 more of these and just wear a black Drums and Drams shirt every day of my life. All right, so I'll wait on Maury to fix that before we still have 3 minutes before we cut this off, basically. So that's funny. Any other sips we need to have this evening? You know what I think would be fun is to take a look from Steven, casket salesman. He sent a Tumbling Dice. Oh, this is a bourbon. Well, never mind. I thought this was a rye. Well, let's taste it, dude. I was gonna put it next to Year of the Rye. I was like, oh, Tumbling Dice, usually a little, brighter profile, especially after last week's blind. Maybe this rye would be a fun comparison to Year of the Rye. But this is actually a bourbon, so let's see what this is all about. Still might be good because it's coming off the Double Jeopardy, which is probably a similar age, MGP product. Noah says, signing off for the night. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, Noah. Thanks for hanging out. We should put code CAM gets you 5% off at bourbonoutfitter.com. Put that on all the t-shirts on the back. Free marketing. Oh, that's hilarious. Insane. Insane. When's the next Scotch Sunday, says Sean? As soon as I can get it filmed. We will see. I am filming some more videos tomorrow night. I'm playing a concert tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m., but it's a short one, so I'm going to be home by 9:30. And I'm thinking about filming tomorrow night, and if I could get a Scotch Sunday and a What's That Whiskey filmed, then I would have enough videos to get me to next weekend. And then I could actually drop a Scotch Sunday. But I'm not getting anybody's hopes up because I don't know that for certain. Daniel Nichols, got you in for 2, ending the night with DD4. I need more turkey finish whiskey. I know, I've got to figure out how to get some more turkey finish whiskey. I have some ideas, actually, I'm working on right now, behind the scenes. But I don't know if they're going to actually come to fruition. Tom, dude, another super chat. Thank you, Tom. In for 4 more, says may have wandered off and killed a bottle of A122 Larceny, getting in under the wire here. Wow. Steven says, I sent you the short barrel rye and TKL. I know I got all my samples are mixed up. I just put everything back up on the shelf in a random order. So I just saw this Tumbling Dice and grabbed it. So I'll get to those, but probably not tonight. Well, so full disclosure, I actually own that bottle of Short Barrel. I felt bad when you sent it. The Perdido pick, the 11.6. I actually have that bottle. I felt bad that you sent that sample. But I don't think we talked ahead of time because I would have told you that I had it. Wow. All right, so this is going to be an interesting comparison, this Tumbling Dice. Yeah, I could absolutely do that. Yeah, you know what? I already have an idea of who that's going to be. I need to just make sure he doesn't have that bottle too, because he might. Sladvan, we're playing Three Penny Opera by Kurt Weill. Friday and Sunday. All right, last couple of super chats here. Or are we done? No, we're not quite done. Maury, there we go. Maury got in for 5. Says, I got to spell Maury's name right, though. Says, oops. Thanks, man. All right. Josh, the Perdido pick out of the 12 years I have might be the worst. Really? And I like that pick. So that's crazy that you say that, because I actually like that pick. All right, guys, giveaway is cut off. We got bugs in here. Giveaway is cut off. Obviously, if something sneaks through here before I actually do the drawing, I get it, but for all intents and purposes, we are wrapped up here. We got Brooks as well jumping in. Thank you, Brooks. Brooks with a very responsible 1 super chat entry. This is the spoiler right here. Jason, I'm interested in these Redwood single barrels. I'm very, very interested. Oh my God, Toshi. Since we're talking about making bad decisions, what the heck? Just grabbed a couple Coy Hills and Parker's Heritage. We are bad influences. All right. Real quick. This is a Tumbling Dice 8-year pick. On the nose. By the way, Steven, how much did this cost, this pick? For an MGP, 8 years old, it's surprisingly dense and, like, we are in, like, peach and cherry territory for fruit, and there's more of that than you would expect at 8 years old, I would say. At a higher level of concentration than I would expect. It still has a similarity, though, of not only the Double Jeopardy, but also the Barrel King, which makes sense. They're all MGP. The similarity of that kind of toasted cornbread note and bakery note that I'm getting. Actually, wow, it's a good palate. kind of a vanilla extract thing on here, on the palate. I'd say generally speaking, my experience with Tumbling Dice, 90% of the picks that I've tasted, I've really enjoyed these. And this is no exception. This is really good. $80. I mean, that's great. Now back to the Double Jeopardy. The Double Jeopardy, a little more complex, but less intense. It's only 110 proof. Same thing on the palate. It's a little broader, sweeter across the board, less ramp up, 8 proof points lower than the Tumbling Dice. Both good options, you know. I thought peaches and cream with cherry on top. I'm totally right there with you. Yeah. Can I trade trust tokens for entries? Okay, so El Cerrito and High Proof both have the Redwood Empire haystacks. Man, I've loved Redwood Empire for so freaking long. I wonder if they would do a barrel... Like, I wonder if we could fly out and do a barrel pick at Redwood Empire. Because I'd love to set that up. That would be fun. Toshi, thoughts on EHTBP rye? I've had an eye on one at 400. No, that's not insane. I don't know. I've not tried it. I've heard that it's just fine, which tracks given that the regular EH Taylor rye is just fine. I would spend $400 probably if I'm being honest. If I found it at 400, that's crazy. But just given the rarity, I would base my decision mostly on rarity, and not mostly on the fact, and not on the fact that I'm expecting it to be great. But I would just be so curious that I'd want to try it at 400. So no, I haven't had it. But 400 is that at a store? Are you? I mean, that's cool that someone is not charging full secondary for it. Because they're about 700, I feel like, secondary. They're doing their pick program, just started earlier this year. All right. Well, guys, let's do this giveaway. It's been a great night. I came into tonight's stream and I was like, I don't know if I have a lot to taste and a lot to talk about. And now we're 2 hours, 20 minutes in. And I feel like I could keep going, but we're going to call it off. Do this giveaway, get out of here. We're going to have 2 winners for tonight's giveaway. And I'm excited. I'm excited for people to get these bottles in their hands, especially, this Kota. I'm interested to see what people think about Kota. Yeah. I'm just going to end the night with a little pour of this. And you know what? Sometimes these streams where I don't have as much of a battle plan, like some samples didn't arrive quite in time today for tonight's stream and other things happened. And sometimes these are the most fun streams because you just kind of rip it and see where you go. And Jesus, Toshi. Oh, man. You're cracking me up, dude. You are balling out of control tonight, and I freaking love it. Daniel, I know, man. That's what I'm saying. I would love to fly out there and you know what? I'm gonna email them tomorrow. I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna email them tomorrow and see if we can do a Redwood Empire pick. Because I have wanted an excuse to go to California with Sarah so bad. Hit some wineries, hang out, make a trip of it. We got to do it. We got to do it. CJ Miller, what's your top 5 whiskey so far of this year? Old Fitz 13, Russell's 15. Sorry, just a second. Now I'm blanking on everything I've tasted. Hey guys, does anybody remember what my top 5 are for the year? I have not been keeping good track on my phone. George C. Stagg 2024 is probably in my top 5. I don't know. Toshi says overly saturated. My bank account will love me less tomorrow. Russell's 15 in all the top 5 spots. Disco 12 is not my top 5. That would be probably top 15. So that's the thing, Daniel. Would you rate Opus One in your top 5, top 10? I don't. It feels a little bit narcissistic to put my own barrel picks in the conversation. So I don't know. I probably can't say any of that unless I did it blind because I'm probably too biased about it. That said, I still recognize the flaws in Opus and Opus Kota. But I will say I haven't spent enough time with Opus Kota yet, but I like Opus One a whole hell of a lot. So I'll just say that for now, and maybe I can blind that against some things and see how it does. Any Bufferky top 5? Yeah, like if you're counting single barrels in top 5, then the short barrel from River Roots is probably top 3. It's that good. And as a result, I mean, I think, again, it's tough that there are picks. Like, I think the Bard and the Princess, but those aren't going to come out till 2025. I think they're in the same kind of category. So I don't know, man. I don't want to include my picks. That's a different discussion. I'd have to think about the other things that came out this year. Limestone Farms private stock would probably be top 10 for sure. What the fuck is going on here? Andrew P. Minnick said Larceny A124 beat GTS 2024. I mean, again, I'll say the same thing I've said about, my palate and Fred Minnick's palate. 80% of the time are not going to align on things. So, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thing, but okay. I'm trying to think about what to say. Context is important. Like, did he know that those were two of the things that he was tasting? Because if he didn't, if this was purely double blind, he had no idea what he was tasting amongst maybe other things, that would be consistent for him because he has consistently ranked those larcenies really high in blinds. So if he didn't know that he was tasting a larceny in the mix, then I'm actually impressed by the fact that he's so consistent ranking those larcenies. However, if he knew that he had larceny and George T. Stagg in front of him and they were like mixed up back and forth or something, you can tell those apart easily, in which case I wouldn't trust that judgment necessarily. He said he'd rather drink larceny, but Andrew, what was the context for it? Like, what was the setup? Was he drinking 100 things? Like, did he have a flight of 10 things or what? It was in his GTS review. Oh, interesting. No side-by-side. He liked GTS more than William LaRue. I keep hearing that as well. He was reviewing only GTS. So what did he say? Did he say that he just would prefer larceny? Because, I mean, you can say that, but once you put them side-by-side, that's going to be a different story if you taste them side-by-side, probably. But maybe not, because, he does seem to like those larcenies. Maybe side-by-side, blind, he would say the same thing. That just goes to show everybody's got different palates, but I hope nobody thinks that I'm trying to disrespect Fred Minnick by saying that our palates don't align, because that's the case with a lot of people. It's like Dan and Sean from the Bourbon Junkies palates don't always align. It's not a disrespect thing. It's just the fact of the matter is that we all have different palates. Oh, so yeah, it was based on what he remembered. Yeah, I don't know then. That's a tough call to make from memory, I think, but who knows? All right. Let's make sure I don't miss any entries here. If I do, please email me after the fact. We'll make it right. All the Venmos are in. PayPal is in. And we are good to go. So let me share my screen. Larceny A124 is the best pour he's had this year. Dude, Huh. You know, I'd have to put this in a blind because the palate drinks crazy explosively. And I remember reviewing this A124 and saying that it was like way too spicy, but it drinks pretty well. You guys want to do something fucking crazy? Should we do Larceny A124 for George T. Stagg 2024? Justin, are you on here still, dude? Do I have your blessing to do like another half ounce? Here's where Justin, I promise I'll make this right for you, dude. I'm going to drink your whole bottle of George T. Stagg. This is how much is left, Justin. I have not done that much damage. Are you here? Can you sanction this bout? Yes, let's go. Come on. Okay. What are we doing? All right, let's get weird. Justin says he requested $800. He literally did. It says Justin Potts requested $800 cash back. Listen, Bug said blind. I don't have to do this blind. I can tell you which one's which immediately. It's not like that's Larceny. That's GTS. So blind is not going to help these two, but even a triangle blind is not going to help these two. It would have to be like you'd have to have other pours mixed in here and see how it shakes out. And there's not enough time to do all that, but why not put these next to each other? Because you know what? It's interesting that Fred said that. And here I am going on about how our palates differ, and they do. Like, historically speaking, when I watch Fred's videos and I watch his reviews, like, I find myself going, I don't vibe with that or that or that. And then all at once, he'll have a take on a bottle, and I'm like, I completely agree with that take. So, let's see how this goes. I'm curious to see, because that Larceny drank so intensely a second ago. My palate is tuned up right now to the point, like, I'm a little tipsy for sure, okay? But I'm used to high proofs now at this point in the night. And maybe it's the fact that, like, I drank Larceny A124. Maybe it was a fresh palate on the video. I think it was actually an episode of the Weekly Dram that I reviewed it. And I probably would have recorded that first in a series of recordings, because those were longer videos. And I would have started with that so I was sober and I could get through 15 minutes of just talking at the camera before going on to reviews afterwards. So let's see how this goes. Sam, we have now come full circle just to drink more of Justin's George T. Stagg bottle. Adam, ruthless dude. Actually, Justin is getting this George T. Stagg back in about 14 hours. So I got to get my shit together. All right, let's get into it. I got to do this dang giveaway. We can wait. We got this. All according to plan. All right, Larceny Barrel Proof. 124.2. Yeah, 124.2. Stag has a 12-point proof advantage. Larceny. Wow. Like snickerdoodle, cinnamon roll. Very spicy pie crust notes. All right. George T. Stag. It's like berry compote on the nose by comparison. Yeah. Fruit leather notes. It's much more round and rich on the George T. Stag. Distinctly fruity. However, if you're going for pure balls on the nose, the Larceny is like way more intense on the nose than the George T. Stag. For me personally, I like the profile of the Stag better in this case. All right, let's start with the Larceny on the palate. That's a hot bitch. It's hot. And I remember this. I remember talking about A124 and thinking that this was hot. Wow. Parker. When you're done with that half ounce, I think we need to pour more and put GTS up against the Beyonce. You know what, dude? I agree. That's a good comparison. And we probably need to pour at least a full ounce of George T. Stag to do that comparison. All right, one more sip of Larceny. You know what Larceny has? It's got this note that... I was going to say, it's got the spice note that Kota has. But Kota is richer and deeper. All right, one more Larceny. All right. Little wood shop note on the second sip. Personally, for me on the nose, George T. Stag wins. At least GTS against every D&D pick. How is Smoke Eye Hill not represented here? You guys are fucking savages. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Guy. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So good. It's so good. Listen, there's a case to be made here on this Larceny thing. I think there's a case to be made. Because Larceny A124 drinks so hot. For me, there's not a comparison, though. George T. Stag is so well developed on the nose and the palate. It's so fruity. It's as explosive on the palate, actually. There's less pepper spice on the George T. Stag. The Larceny has this pepper spice that reminds me of a younger whiskey, which it is. But the weird part is that it's a wheater and it's so peppery and spicy. Yeah, it's not a question. George T. Stag spanks this for me, but here's what I'll say. I am actually surprised as far as proof and like drinking intensity goes on the Larceny. I'm actually surprised at how much that could hold up to the George T. Stag if you value different things than I value in these pours. Like if you're looking for the explosiveness and intensity and spice, and you don't care about the more like well-developed, like older notes in the George T. Stagg, then I could see how you might actually go for the Larceny in this side by side. But I think most of us are probably going to go for the George T. Stagg, I would say, if you actually have these two side by side. So, all right, Justin. So now we're going to blend the Larceny and the George T. Stagg. No, I'm just kidding, bro. Just kidding. Man, I keep losing glasses. All right. I'm going to re-pour the Opus Kota that I wanted to end my night with. Now we have it next to George T. Stagg, which is fun. All right, let's do this giveaway. Good Lord almighty, let's do this giveaway. I got to get Parker in there, I think. Let's scroll back up and grab this one, Parker. Parker's a late bloomer here in the Super Chats. All right, thank you, Parker. In for two. I'll grab the Beyonce whiskey after this. Oh, gosh. You guys are funny. Let me get the banner taken down here. All right. So we are good to go. Thank you guys for being here. If you're one of the 172 people left after 2 hours and 40 minutes, you're awesome. Thank you. Please remember to hit that like button. And if you have not subscribed, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. So here's the way this works. As always, guys, your name is on the left. Your number of entries is on the right. This is per entry, right? So Jason would have submitted 2 entries, which is $10. His name is auto-populated over here twice, et cetera, et cetera. Tony Bag of Donuts here for 4 entries. That's a $20 super chat. It's 4 entries. Name is here for 4, et cetera, et cetera. If you entered more than once, like Tom Lonzo entered 3 times, his first was a 25, 5 entries. His second was a 25 down here, 5 entries. And then he had another one even further below, which will have some number of entries as well. We're only going to go from Jason down to Tom on this first one. And then we will go from Will down to Brandeis. Holy shit, we have a lot of entries, huh? And then we will go, okay. Then we will go from from Art down to Parker, which Parker's at the bottom, but we know he's got 2 entries. So we got to do this in 3 rounds. All right, so let's start with Jason down to, Tom, Will, and Joe. If you see any errors, the point is, if you see an error, if I missed an entry, please let me know. We'll do this, we'll do like 30 to 40 seconds on each round of this. Joe, let's make an old-fashioned right now. I should really, I've wanted to experiment with that Burchino stuff from Watershed. So George T. Stagg and Burchino to let's make like a Manhattan with it, Let's really blow it out of the water. Oh, Adam is in for 4 more entries. I'll get you in there at the end, Adam. Oh shit, I hit a button. I scrolled somehow accidentally. All right, hang on. There we go. Jason down to Joe. Listen, I am very glad that Opus Kota kicks the crap out of A124 Larceny. That makes me feel better from a price perspective. All right, let's scroll down now. We're going to go from, let's say from Joe/Adam here at the top. We'll go down to Jesse. So this is round 2 here. Travis says I should do George T. Stagg and Mountain Dew since the Dew was created as a whiskey mixer. Was it really? If that is like some trivia right there, that is awesome. Dude, Mojo says George T. Stagg probably good with cherry Coke or squirt. I agree. Next time I see you, dude, we've got to just do George T. Stagg mixed with cherry Coke or something. That would be fun. Let's get crazy. Eric says, what are the prices on the River Roots anyhow? All the ryes we've done are $115. This next one, which is 12, almost 13 years, is going to be $120. The double oak stuff, the Opus, those are $185, which I know sounds expensive, but the whiskey it's truly at that level, in my opinion. To me, the Opuses are at like a $250 level, SRP. And so being $185, I actually think it's a very even, if not slightly above even value. And then the Buffalo Turkeys are expensive. Those are going to be like $300 to $350. But that's going to be pretty commonplace in the market. Dan, I will message you if you win. All right, last round here. Let's go now from Leo down to Parker. Check your entries, please, guys. Sean. Guys, George T. Stagg this year is awesome. I really think it's awesome. Holy fuck. Whoa. BL Brewing Co. Who is BL Brewing Co? Thank you. $300 super chat? Oh my God. Thank you so much. Holy shit. All right, guys. BL Brewing Co. in under the wire. With 60 entries. Oh my, no, 60, not 606. That would be equally as crazy. BL Brewing Co., I don't know who you are. But thank you. Good God. Oh my goodness. Adam Edlin, I also owe you. I also owe you these 4 entries. Here we go. I got you in. Wow. Yeah, okay, BL Brewing Co. says, I've watched your channel for over a year. I'm a quiet person. Thank you for that super chat. That is incredibly generous. I don't even know what to say, man. Daniel says he meant to put 30. If that's the case, I apologize. I'm taking it and running with it. Wow, that's thank you. Gosh. Okay. Man. All right. Let's copy all of these into the randomizer. Good Lord, guys. Yeah, the screen went red. Like, I've never seen a super chat that big in any of my streams, and that's so crazy. Look at that. That's so crazy. Justin, I hate you so much, Justin. Oh, that's funny. I think it's Sarah, says Sam. All right, I copied. Wow, that's a lot of entries tonight, guys. You know what? Let's get weird. Let's do 4 winners for tonight's giveaways. Let's do 4 winners. Do I have enough to do that? No, I have enough to do 3 winners tonight. I'm trying to think about what I picked up today from River Roots. I have enough to do 3 winners tonight. Here's what I'll do. We'll do 4 winners total. 3 are going to get bottles, and the 4th person is going to get samples. Just entirely samples. So we're going to give away Justin's George T. Stagg. No, I'm just kidding. The first place winner is going to get Kota. 2nd and 3rd will get Year of the Rye. And the 4th place winner will get a sample pack. Now, just a reminder, the bottle winners will get a sample of the Elijah Craig Toasted Private Barrel and the Short Barrel Double Oaked. And then the sample winner will obviously get those as well. Samples of Opus Kota, Year of the Rye, and some other things that I'll throw in there as well. So, 4 winners tonight. And we will not have any duplicate winners. So if there's anybody that wins twice, we just roll it down to the next person is the way we'll do it. All right. So there we go. Let's everybody's copied. Let's go to random.org. We'll spin it 7 times, and the top 4 will be the winners. And then, unless we have to roll down. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here's the last one. 7. All right. Nick Leone is winning the Kota. Jason and BL Brewing Co. getting a Year of the Rye. Almost 13-year MGP Rye. And Jason Zell coming away with a sample pack, which I'm going to make a pretty epic sample pack there. So there we go. Congrats to you guys. I'm going to take a picture of this so I don't forget. And I have to make a note on my phone right now that we adjusted tonight's giveaway just so I don't forget. Holy crap. Short barrel, double oak samples. Okay, we're good. Justin says rigged. Congrats, guys. Hey, and cheers to BL Brewing Co. for that last super chat. Holy shit. That's crazy. That is so crazy. Phil, Year of the Rye has not dropped already. No, it's going to be December. If everything goes to plan, it will be December 10th. It's a Tuesday. Thank you, Justin, for letting me have another little sip out of that George T. Stagg. I promise we're at a good level in that bottle still. And this is the Opus Kota, which we're wrapping up the night with. Thank you guys for all your support. Thanks for hanging out tonight. We will not be live next week. Next week is Thanksgiving. By the way, did anybody see the Bourbon Junkies video today? Where Dan totally guessed the price on Wild Turkey Triumph at like, what was it? What did he guess? Like 125 or something, 150? Triumph is the most overpriced bottle in my opinion, of the year, I would say. It is so underwhelming. I actually have the rest of this sample here. I can't remember who sent me this sample. I apologize. I didn't write it down on the bottle, but I've tasted it once already on a stream. That is the most overpriced bottle of the year, I think. He said 120. I will never let Dan live this day down. I promise you that. Oh, Justin sent it. Justin, see you tomorrow, bro. Oh, my good God. That's so funny. Oh, BL Brewing Co. joined the Patreon. Awesome. Awesome. I'll see you in there. See you in the Discord. Okay, guys. Cheers. Wrapping up with Opus Kota. Congrats to the winners. Thank you guys for your support. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already. Subscribe. More content is coming. Back to the grind, recording videos. Guys, we've got a lot of shorts coming out right now, and a lot of these shorts are repurposed live content for the time being. Just trying to get some more things out there. So if you do see those shorts come across your feed, just drop a like on them. I know sometimes you've already seen them because you tune into the live streams, but we're just trying to get more stuff out into the world and then start to produce it a little bit better moving forward. So it's all slow growth. Merch is on the way. Shirts, hats, hoodies, all that kind of stuff. Glasses, trust tokens. I want to get that in the works. So have a good Thanksgiving, guys. I'll see everybody else. Discord, Patreon. Barrel pick drops next Friday. 3 barrels from Backbone. About 300 bottles or so to go around. So, all right. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. And I will see you guys soon. Cheers.